Amadeus was released in 1984 and became an instant modern classic. Milos Forman's period biopic about the rivalry between composers Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and Antonio Salieri, the film is an exploration of jealousy, genius, and divine injustice. My name's John, and the performing monkeys with me are Matt.
'Tis miraculous.
And Westy.
Forgive me, Majesty. I am a vulgar man, but I assure you my music is not.
It's the 18th century, and all the right movies are in Vienna via Prague to talk the man, the murder, and the myth about the music. Too many notes. Hello and welcome to all the highbrow movies, right movies.
Very nice.
Giggling, dirty-minded creatures crawling on the floor, and a podcast on classic and hit films.
That's us.
This episode has been a long time coming.
It has been.
Oh, very long.
For you especially.
As always, we're telling the story of Hollywood one movie at a time, but today it's through the voice of God.
It is.
As we talk Milos, Mozart, the patron saint of mediocrities, and Amadeus.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot.
I'm just going to have a nip of
Sounds a
dessert
lot.
before we start.
As always.
As always.
Yeah.
Nothing changes.
Well, before we start making our all-night confessions, should we plug our own divine compositions on Patreon?
Oh, go on then. Might as well.
Absolutely.
Well, if you're a regular listener to our ATRM Classic podcast, you can help support what we do by becoming an ATRM patron. Patrons get access to our bonus podcast episode called Double Feature, where we talk about two films that may get the ATRM Classic treatment, and the watch list, where we review more modern releases.
Yep.
And you will also gain access to our whole podcast archive, full of bonus episodes and archived ATRM Classic episodes. So if you like biopics, we have The Social Network. If period films are your thing, Master and Commander is in there.
It is.
Hundreds of hours worth of other stuff as well. So to find out more, visit patreon.com/alltherightmovies or subscribe directly on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube.
Please do.
Definitely worth a look, guys.
And also, if you're interested in the ATRM community, we have an e-newsletter that goes out monthly with features like Patron of the Month and Spotlight, where one of us guys will recommend a hidden gem movie for you. Not to be missed. So to stay in the loop, you should definitely sign up to that as well at alltherightmovies.com.
Definitely should.
But enough about us for now.
Yep.
Back to today, and it's Amadeus.
It is.
I chose this one, in case you weren't aware, Matt.
Did you?
But listening to you was like listening to the voice of God. So you first.
Oh, thank you.
Why are we talking Amadeus?
Well, this one I didn't get to till I was well into my 20s, and I dismissed it for two reasons. Firstly, the biopic is probably my least favourite genre. They're essentially all the same. They just hit the same notes, no pun intended. And a biopic about a classical composer, a topic I've got very little interest in. That was the first thing that turned me off it. But secondly, the other thing I knew about it was this was one of the big Oscar winners of the 80s, and I think that decade in particular has a pretty poor lineup of big Best Picture winners, Out of Africa, Gandhi, The Last Emperor, all these bloated films that, they're big and they're epic and they're sweeping.
Yeah.
But they're all a bit of a slog to get through and they're quite dull. I thought Amadeus was just going to be like that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. In terms of biopics, it turns the genre on its head and it does something genuinely different with it. And then in terms of those films that were winning the Oscars in the 80s, this is just so completely different because I was not expecting this to be as much fun as it is.
Nice.
Yeah. Similar for me, but I was about 17 or 18 when I first saw Amadeus. I've been going through this phase where I was obsessed with Mozart for some reason.
Wow.
I think the whole musical genius thing fascinated me.
I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Writing symphonies at 8 years old. Like Mozart, not me, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I heard there was this film about Mozart that won loads of Oscars, and I was like, well, this sounds awesome. So I was all over it.
Yeah.
And then I watched it and realised it's not totally about Mozart as much as it is his petty little mate.
Yeah.
But it still floored me first time. I was crawling on the floor like Mozart. And it's still extraordinary to me.
Yep.
Usually I kind of play my cards close to my chest at the start of our episodes, but this time seems a bit pointless. So this is getting a 10. And the rest of the show I'll be explaining, or trying to explain, why I think so highly of it.
Brilliant, yeah.
And I think highly of it in maybe every way you can think highly of a film, and all the ways we talk about the direction, the writing, the cast, the visuals, design work, all fantastic. The story of how it was made is as huge as the film as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, the music's not bad, is it?
I mean, it's all right. Fills a hole, doesn't it?
It's up there.
Oh, and also, there's one scene in particular that might be my favourite in any film ever.
Okay.
If you're familiar with the film, you probably know which one I'm talking about. So that's coming as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And speaking of geniuses, Westy, rumour has it that you hadn't seen Amadeus before doing this episode.
Rumour has it.
Been completely ignoring me for decades.
I know, not ignoring you, just kind of sidestepping you a little bit.
I'm used to that, it's all right.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch this until I was into my 40s. That's not my 20s. Yeah, this is a new one for me. And it was one that, again, really put me off. And I don't know why, because I got into really pretentious films a long time ago. But it seemed pretentious just from the artwork. It seemed like a massive slog. It was almost like looking at Metropolis or something. It was like, oh, right, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then I've seen Barry Lyndon like 4 times. And I haven't watched Amadeus. It's outrageous. But I've seen it a fair few times over the past weeks, and that would have been a hard thing to do if it wasn't so captivating, which it is. I mean, I'm not going to give me score away right now, but I'm glad it's in there. I'm really glad I've watched it. I just love everything about it, to be honest. I love the sentiment of it. I love the performances of it. I love the pace, and I love the music. Not that I'd sit and listen to Mozart just in my headphones going, it makes us very anxious in some parts because it's so much to it. It's so intricate, which we'll get into all of that. It's just a really good, really captivating film, and I'm very excited to talk about it. I'm not too sure what me and Matt are doing here, but we'll try and fit something in somewhere.
Get a word in edgeways somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll try to, yeah.
So Amadeus was produced by the Soul Dance Company, distributed by Orion Pictures and Thorn EMI Screen Entertainment, and released on September the 19th, 1984. Filmed almost entirely on location in Prague, Czechoslovakia, the film was directed by Milos Forman, written by Peter Schaefer, adapting his own stage play of the same name, and stars Tom Hulce as Mozart, F. Murray Abraham as Salieri, and Elizabeth Berridge as Constanza.
Does.
Time to face the music then, should we?
And dance.
Yeah, it's 1823 in a Viennese asylum, and an old man's confession is about to change everything. It's the beginning of Amadeus.
The beginning.
Amadeus opens with a classic narrative device, a suicide attempt that leads to a murder confession that drops us back 30 years earlier mid-opera.
It does.
That old chestnut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the meeting between our 2 lead characters in Salieri and Mozart, but to start, it's old Salieri, a young priest, and some timeless music. Vienna 1823, and Antonio Salieri, once the most famous composer in Europe, self-praise no praise,
Yep.
is carted off to an asylum where he confesses to murder and tries to slit his own throat.
He does.
Visited by Father Vogler, played by Herman Meckler, Salieri takes us back to when he first encountered the musical phenomenon that was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Tells the priest to leave him alone and then doesn't shut up for the next 10 hours, Westy.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
So you're the perfect guy to start with this opening.
Of course I am, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this opens exactly the way I thought it was going to the point where I was like, really? Just really on the nose, exactly what you'd expect. And it is, I mean, it's very shocking, the reveal of Salieri. When you open that door and you see him, you're just like, what's happening? Where's this going? And I love the way this is cross-cut at the very start with the first movement. You've got people dancing, celebrating the music.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
him getting carried through as the credits are rolling. So it's almost like we haven't really got time for credits.
Yeah.
It's like we need to move the story on. We've got to fit the credits in somehow. But it sets the tone for the rest of the film of how he's just so broken down and tired of everything, but still the music's being celebrated.
Yeah.
Which is great. Some great lines when it's back and forth with the priest. I love that. When he says, your confession for God's forgiveness. I think Salieri just needs to hear that and says, well, have I got a point for you?
Yeah.
Does God exist? And here we go. And the transition to the younger Salieri is absolute magic.
Oh, brilliant.
Really love that. And then when he starts playing the music and he's like, do you recognise that? And then he's like, no, not really. But you studied music. Yeah, I studied it. Yeah, okay, but you don't know what that is. No. What about this one? And then he's just straight in. Then he's like, I didn't know you wrote that. He's like, I didn't. That was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. But the way he says Amadeus,
Yeah.
and he looks up to the sky, and he says, he was my idol. And then we're cut.
Yeah, it's great.
So you don't know where you stand on it. It's just full of regret, but at the same time, you don't quite know if it was his fault, if he feels guilty for something, if he misses him too much. You don't know where you are with it. So it's a brilliant start. to a really brilliant narrative and a really great introduction to the character, because F. Murray Earhart, we're going to keep going through this, is unbelievable. But just this moment where you go from young to old, he was my idol, bang, we're in.
Yeah, I love how it just drops us right in.
Yeah.
There's no build-up. Old man screaming, Mozart, and trying to kill himself. But it does set the tone, distances itself straight away from your more stuffy period picture. But once we're with the priest and Salieri, that's when it really starts to move. And I think it's a pretty perfect setup for what we're going to get.
Yeah.
F. Murray Abraham, as the old Salieri, is instantly magnetic. I love it when the priest says, all men are equal in God's eyes, and Salieri turns to face him in his wheelchair like, are they?
Yeah.
Don't really notice that first time round, but on rewatches, it's massive. Sets up the plot, and that's one of the themes of the film.
Yeah.
And like the rest of the film, it's inventive in its use of music. It's only a couple of minutes or so before we get our first flashback. You mentioned it, Westy, when we cut to Salieri conducting his opera. Mm-hmm. And there's no 30 years earlier in the title cards. This is way too slick for that. It transitions on the music as it does all the way through.
Yeah.
And lets us know that when we hear music, it's often going to be in characters' heads, which works so well, as we'll talk about. Mm-hmm. I find this about as engaging a film as I've seen, and it's there kind of right from the start, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And Vincent Schiavelli was an actor who met Milos Forman in the 1960s and appeared in all of his Hollywood films. He plays Fredrickson in Cuckoo's Nest. In here, he plays Salieri's valet. And Schiavelli said before Amadeus, he had made guest appearances on a few TV shows. And after shooting a shot where all he had to do was walk in a frame, he said Forman shouted cut and said to him, television is ruining you.
Fair enough.
Television is ruining you.
Yeah, probably more like that, yeah.
But yeah, the valet is trying to entice Salieri out with a big plate of food.
Yeah.
He's like, Salieri, I have a creamer cake for you. I mean, that'd work on me, to be fair.
And the guy carrying it's just stuffing his face with
Disgusting.
Horrible.
Licking it, it's horrible.
Just licking it off, yeah.
And it sets up Salieri's love of desserts, which is a nice touch.
Yes, that's his insecurity all the way through the film, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's kind of, that's his one weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as we talked about, Salieri's room in the mental hospital was a set built for the film, but the scenes that take place in the corridor outside his room were filmed in Invalidovna in Prague, a dormitory built for war veterans in the 1730s.
Wow. And
it was used until 1935 and was a museum when Amadeus came to film there. Kind of tell it there's a bit of a history there when you're going through that corridor.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, we're seeing when the priest arrives, then when he's pushing Salieri around in the final scene, and he's like, I absolve you to everyone.
Mediocrity.
People just like chained to the wall by the neck. Brutal.
I know, horrible.
Yeah.
No cameos from Cuckoo's Nest, which would have been nice.
That would have been nice.
That would have been,
I think it might have just been a bit too on the nose, though.
Yeah. And the music that Salieri plays to the priest and says, that was Mozart, is a serenade called Ein klein Nacht music. It's one of Mozart's most well-known pieces today, and he wrote it in 1787, around the time he was writing Don Giovanni, but it wasn't actually published until 1827, 36 years after he died, when Constanza sold it to a German publisher.
Yeah, it's a bit upbeat to put in Don Giovanni, I think. Most miserable opera ever.
Yeah.
And the scenes for Salieri and the priest are set in 1823, so 4 years before that music was even published, meaning the priest couldn't have known it.
Right.
So Forman's decision to favour art over historical accuracy, something else we'll be talking about, that's there from the start of the film as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after this, we'll meet the man himself. And it's such a great setup, because who could this Mozart look like? And let's face it, Salieri is expecting someone as regal and refined as himself. But what I love about it, for all his preening and pomposity, as soon as he spies a chance to get stuck in a food without someone seeing, he's straight in there.
Yeah. A chocolate ball. Yeah, great.
Yeah. But I genuinely think this is one of the best character introductions in cinema, because you put yourself in Salieri's shoes and you have to pretend you don't know, because this guy, this vulgar fool, Colin Stanza, is shitwit and all that nonsense backward talk. Just an absolute idiot. And I think it's also worth bearing in mind, Forman doesn't move the camera in any extravagant way that calls attention to itself, unless he's got a really good reason to do so. So when this idiot who we think he is says, oh, they play my music, and stands up, and you realise this is Mozart, and you get that push in on Salieri's face, just aghast. It's so effective.
Yeah.
It definitely is. Slightly strange guy, Salieri, I think, creeping round this party, staring at everyone's faces. Are you him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a great way to introduce a title character, like you said, Matt. Yeah. We are like Salieri. We're probably expecting to see Mozart show up as some smart, well-spoken genius, not some giggling man boy like he does.
Yeah.
My favourite bit, though, is after the concert, when Salieri comes across Mozart's sheet music. Mm-hmm. We hear the music in Salieri's head as he reads it, and we get the first scene of old Salieri describing Mozart's music, and it's glorious, where he's like a rusty squeeze box. Great.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, high above it, an oboe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we hear exactly what he's describing as he describes it. I mean, I'm not doing it justice there because it's stunning the way they put it all together.
Yeah.
And this is like, 8 minutes in or something? What's great as well, though, is how it develops the Mozart-Salieri rivalry, like, straight away. It's not just simple jealousy. Salieri's excited to meet Mozart at first. The anger only comes when he realises Mozart isn't what he expected. A musical genius should be dignified and classy, like Salieri, not this babbling, sex-crazed idiot. If anything, it tells us more about Salieri than Mozart. He's pretty narcissistic, I think.
And Elizabeth Berridge said, filming the scene where Constanze and Mozart are crawling around on the floor wasn't easy. She said every time Tom Hulce dragged her along the floor, the carpet friction caused her dress to slide down and expose her chest. She did cover herself up before and kept telling Rush out, keep going, you look great.
Not the point, Milos, to be fair.
It's definitely not the point. No.
It's really not the point.
I think that scene's a good intro to Constanza as well. Stanzi to her pals, so that's what I'll be calling her.
Yeah.
But within seconds of seeing them together, I'm thinking, how does she tolerate this guy?
Yeah.
Shit and fart jokes. Awful.
Yeah.
And her patience obviously does wear thin later on.
Yeah. Historians have studied letters written by the real Mozart and said he did seem to have the same kind of humour we see on the film. He would often sign off letters with Tresem, which was Mozart backwards. And when he was in Vienna, he wrote a piece of music called Leck mir dann asch fin recht son sober, which translates to lick my arse nice and clean. Nice talk, sugar mouth.
Yeah, lovely. Lovely German there as well, Westy.
Oh, thanks.
But that moment when he's talking backwards is when we find out that he's Mozart. He's got his head like in Stanzi's chest, and we hear the orchestra starting up, and he suddenly transforms, stands up and is like, my music. Great.
Yeah.
And then the camera pushes right in on Salieri as he realises it's one step away from Jaws, like a dolly zoom.
I know. It just needs that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the opening to Amadeus, suicidal Salieri and a foul-mouthed but genius Mozart. The composer battle lines are drawn. Time to meet their boss, I think.
Okay.
Having established Salieri's hatred for Mozart pretty much instantly, we now see them thrown together in the imperial Viennese court. Summoned by Emperor Joseph II, played by Geoffrey Jones, Mozart's commissioned to write an opera. He accepts and sits himself down at the old Joanna, humiliating Salieri in the process.
Yeah.
There it is, Westy.
Yeah.
How's the Emperor and Vienna?
This really stood out for me, this scene.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic, isn't it? It's just exactly what you want to happen, and it happens so well. There's so many bits. The Emperor, just let him in slowly. Can I have a try of it? And he's like, Emperor, he's like, amazing. Yeah, of course he can. But then he's like, he doesn't play. He's like, lightly, then strongly. It's really funny. He's really, really just panicking. It's like, oh God, it's the first time Mozart's going to hear this, and it's like so badly done. But it's really, really great because he comes in, and when they start arguing over it, whether it should be in German or whether it should be in Italian, and there's just this real pompous nature to them all. And Mozart's just like, just make it like this. It's great. It's going to be excellent. I know what I'm doing. This real sense of people trying to just use him for his talent, but they're going to take all the benefit from it. They're going to take all the reward from his actual talent, which I think is a really good touch. Honestly, he just rips the piss. It's superb from that moment. And then he's like, the rest is just the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you play somebody's music to them, that's probably the worst thing you could say to them. It's so belittling. It's so in your face. Well, it's just the same over and over again. Imagine I'm playing some Oasis songs. Yeah, I know it. It's fine. And it's absolutely brilliant. And then he just makes it better. Did you try this?
Yeah.
What about this? Like, shall we try this? And then just makes it miles better. It's just a great scene because I kind of talk about it chronologically, because there's so many things that I love about it. I just jump backwards and forwards in my head. It's just absolutely brilliantly played out.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the most memorable scenes in the film, I think. And it's really well constructed.
Yeah.
It starts with Salieri writing his welcome march for Mozart, where he looks at his crucifix and goes, Grazie, signori. And it's a nice little tune. I quite like it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, good.
When Mozart plays it, obviously.
Yeah. And we get the conversation about whether Mozart's opera should be in German or Italian, and the wider conflict with the Emperor's court advisors start. Great when Mozart says love's a German virtue, and Salieri's like, love, of course, in Italy we know nothing about love.
Yeah. And that guy's like, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
That's for ages, like Jabba the Hutt.
He looks like him as well.
He does a bit.
Yeah.
So it's a really good scene in terms of character, narrative, And then Mozart plays Salieri's Welcome March back to him, and he does just start taking the piss.
Yeah, he does.
That doesn't really work, does it?
Yeah.
Or did you try this? Or what about this? All while giggling away. And Salieri is totally gutted.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting because historians say that from studying certain documents, it's pretty obvious that the real Mozart had perfect pitch and a photographic memory.
Right.
Because playing tunes back instantly is something he could really do, apparently. So that's where this scene comes from.
Wow.
But I think it's superb. And we end by cutting on Mozart's huge laugh and Salieri back with the crucifix, now furious. Grazie, signore. It's really good.
Brilliant, yeah.
And at the start of the film, Mozart is in service of Prince Archbishop Hieronymus Colloredo of Salzburg, played by Nicholas Kapros. Mozart and the Archbishop not getting on is based on reality. Mozart letters from the time describe the Archbishop as authoritative, not caring for Mozart's music and thinking he had no decorum.
Right.
Yeah, apparently, and this isn't in the film, but it could have been, I think. Apparently, when Mozart resigned from the Archbishop's court to go to Vienna, he had a meeting with the Archbishop's chamber clerk, and he was so furious with Mozart that he threw him out by kicking him in the pants.
Right.
I wonder if that's why we get that moment when the Archbishop's chamber guard closed the door.
Then he bends over.
As he's bowing, yeah.
Yeah.
Just missed the bit where he just took a running kick in his ass.
Your father Ted.
Yeah, missed. Salieri's Welcome March was actually written for the film, but the music that Mozart adapts it to was written by the real Mozart. It's called Non più idrei for full amoroso, and it's from The Marriage of Figaro.
It's funny when the Emperor's like, let's have some fun. Sits down to play it and he's rubbish. Plinky plonking away like Eric Morecambe.
Yeah.
And Salieri's like, come on, man. It's great.
Yeah.
And the first person cast as Emperor Joseph was Ian Richardson, who was known as a Shakespearean actor, but he had to pull out because of scheduling conflicts. Geoffrey Jones was also known as a stage actor at the time, and Forman's casting team saw him in an off-Broadway British two-act play called Cloud9 and recommended him to Forman.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, Geoffrey Jones. But he was cancelled into oblivion in 2002 when he was arrested for something disgusting. Google it if you're interested.
Yeah.
But on that note, back to you, Matt.
Thanks.
We've got an opera to talk about.
Yeah.
The abduction from the Seraglio.
I do, because this is the scene that always comes to mind first to me about this film, is when the Emperor gets up on stage.
Really?
Yeah, just that attempt to critique Mozart. Do any notes? Because this is still such a relevant scene, because everyone thinks they're an expert these days. Everyone has social media, so everyone has an opinion, and I think that opinion has to be heard. And it reminds me, when you watch some like talent show on TV, and you might get a really, really good singer, and then you've got like Simon Cowell sat there, who's never sang or written a song in his life.
Or Amanda Holden.
Or Amanda Holden, even worse. Trying to judge and tell what's good or not. And Geoffrey Jones mentioned there, obviously he and his individual, but so good in this, so shallow. And when he's on the spot thinking, he's got to have some opinion because everyone is hanging on his every word. But he's struggling because he just can't even conceive of music. And he's just, how shall one say it, director? Like, puts all the pressure on him. Because to him, he's just making small talk. But because of Mozart's pride in his work, this is important. And just that line, exactly, very well put. Too many notes.
Yeah.
Just a pointless criticism.
It really is. And the aria that we hear from the opera, that is absolutely massive. I think it's one of the best pieces of music we hear in the film. Something I recommend actually in watching this film is to turn the subtitles on during the opera scenes.
Right.
Because they've all been translated into English from German or Italian, so you can read the lyrics.
Oh, nice.
And some of them are dark as hell.
Right.
This one's called Torture of All Kinds, and she's singing about dying a horrible death.
Yeah.
So you might like it, Westy.
Oh, yeah, straight in there.
I mean, not that Mozart's conducting gives that away. He's loving it. That move,
Yeah, definitely,
swinging his arms side to side.
Yeah.
If I was a conductor, that would be my only move.
Yeah. I think the music might be a bit different if that was your only move. Bum, 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 bum.
But as a spectacle, I think it's fantastic. We'll talk a bit more about the operas as we go, but the choreography, the production design, the lighting, it's all like world class. Still hasn't aged a day.
Yeah.
The soprano who stars in The Abduction from the Seraglio is Caterina Cavalieri. She was one of the most famous singers in Vienna at the time the film was set. She really did appear in Mozart's opera and did study under Antonio Salieri and may have actually been his lover.
Right.
The old dog. The creature had my darling girl, Salieri says.
Yeah.
She didn't have a relationship with Mozart in real life, though. That bit is made up, apparently.
Right.
And she's played by Christine Ebersole. And she'd appeared on Broadway, been in SNL, and had a part in Tootsie. And Forman said he cast her because she was so versatile as an actress, which he knew Katerina needed to be. But her singing voice was dubbed for the film by a real Irish soprano called Suzanne Murphy.
Well, she's got some serious pipes on her. Suzanne Murphy blows the roof off. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And Christine Ebersole, if you're wondering who she is, she also plays Leah Belfort, Jordan's mother in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall, you're right,
Ah,
yes.
right,
Yes,
okay.
now that's all clicking into place.
Yeah.
Not quite as much singing in that one.
Not enough.
Not enough.
And the moment after the opera, when the emperor goes backstage and tells Mozart there was too many notes, is based on reality. A biography of Mozart published in 1798 said that after he saw the opera, the emperor said to Mozart, "That is too fine for my ears. There are too many notes." And Mozart replied, "There are just as many notes as there should be." Lovely.
It's so great. It's the way he says it. He's like, how should one say it, director? Too many notes, Your Majesty? Very well put. Too many notes.
Yeah.
Just cut a few and it'll be perfect.
He's like, which ones do you want us to cut then?
Yeah, it's great. But that story apparently is a well-known one in the lore of Mozart, so nice to see it in there.
It really works as well.
It does work really well.
Yeah.
And we meet all of the Emperor's advisors in the opening scenes too, and they are mostly based on real people. So the director of opera is Count Franz Xaver Wolfgang von Orsini Rosenberg.
It's easy for you to say, Matt.
Well done, though. Glad you didn't give me that bit.
Would have been here a while, wouldn't we, Westy?
Yes, you would have.
And he really did oppose Mozart wanting to turn operas from Italian into German, and he's played by Charles Kay.
Right.
Yeah, so all the aristocracy have posh English accents, and the main characters are all American. That was done intentionally by Forman. Bit of a classic kind of trick, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And in the original Broadway play, Rosenberg had been played by Patrick Hines, and he plays Kapellmeister Bono in the film.
Jabba the Hutt, as we call him.
Jabba the Hutt, yep.
Unfairly, but he is great.
Yeah.
They're all great. They're all hateable
yeah.
as well. That's why they're so fantastic. Massive caricatures of hateful people.
Yeah, he's one of the biggest ones, I think. Yeah, he doesn't know whether he's coming or going. Laughs at everyone's jokes.
Yeah.
Hasn't got a clue what's going on.
No. And Patrick Hines, he passed away not long after the film came out, sadly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right.
And then Baron Gottfried van Swieten is the advisor who first mentions Mozart to the Emperor, and he's played by Jonathan Moore, and he played the same character in the stage version. And when Mozart died, he arranged the funeral, which is why we see him at Mozart's funeral at the end of the film.
Right.
He's easily the most likeable of the advisors, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much.
There's a nice detail I like around him as well. Apparently the real Van Swieten played a big role in popularising Bach and Handel in Vienna, which is why he says about Mozart, it's the most promising work I've heard in years, not ever, because he's heard some serious music, that guy.
Okay.
And then Count von Strack was played by a playwright and actor called Roderick Cook, and he was one of the few characters in the film who wasn't based on a real person. He was invented by Peter Schaffer.
Yeah, he gets one of my favourite line deliveries. Later on when Mozart says in front of the Emperor that opera characters sound as if they shit marble, and von Strack goes, "Govern your tongue, Mozart, how dare you?" It's great.
Yeah.
And that is the beginning of Amadeus. We've met basically every character. The bitter Salieri, the giggling Mozart, the charming Stanzi, the nice but slightly dim Emperor. Mm-hmm. We've seen the genius of one European wizard. Should we talk a bit more about the one behind the cameras?
Let's do that.
Definitely.
The director.
Amadeus was directed by Milos Forman. This was his 7th feature film as director, and by this point he'd already won an Oscar for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and established himself as a significant name in Hollywood music and drama with films like Taking Off, Hair and Ragtime.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon Mental Hospital to 18th Century Vienna, Matt. Quite the shift.
Yep.
How does Forman handle it?
I think his greatest achievement here is making something that's fundamentally very, very stagey become completely cinematic.
Yeah.
In little leaps off the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that's to do with the cinematography, which we'll talk about later. But you have moments like when young Salieri sees his father choked to death in front of him, which he's actually quite happy to see.
Yeah.
And then you get that cut to him in the coffin. That's really funny. And you couldn't do that on stage. That wouldn't work.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't.
I think his decision to cast Americans is very, very bold, but it really works because it makes Mozart and Stanzi more relatable.
Yeah.
That's the idea, isn't it? I think, yeah.
It is the idea, because it contrasts to the slightly stuffier performances you get from all the English and European actors. So his eye for how to make this cinematic is pretty incredible. And ultimately, the biggest test that this film passes for me is, as I said at the top, not really a fan of classical music, but Forman makes this conflict between two 18th century composers just completely enthralling.
I agree. I mean, following up from Cuckoo's Nest, 9 years earlier, and Forman's films in between that and Amadeus are largely praised as well. Mm-hmm. But I doubt anyone thought he was coming close to the heights of Cuckoo's Nest again. And here, to me, he surpasses it, to be honest.
Right.
I think what might surprise people when they see this is how dark it goes at times. It starts with someone trying to kill themselves. Mozart becomes an alcoholic. He has some pretty major mental health issues, largely going back to his insane childhood, it seems to me. And this isn't some sanitised costume drama. It's pretty raw and it has some edge to it. But obviously it is the music. It's a film about a legend of music, showcasing his music. It explores music. So music. But Forman, like you're saying, Matt, somehow turns it into one of the most cinematic films I think I've ever seen. Even smaller things like moving between scenes, some of the transitions knock me sideways. Mm-hmm. We talked about Caterina and the Seraglio earlier, and that moment where we cut from Caterina warming up with Salieri to her performing on the stage, and the note she hits carries us across the scenes. How good's that?
Yeah.
There's loads of other great moments I'll mention as we go, but Forman's taking music and doing things with it that you can only do in cinema. And when the music's Mozart, it's kind of irresistible.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it doesn't end there. Forman creates a harmony Mozart himself would have been proud of between, performances and costume design, production design, the screenplay, the makeup. There's so much in there. It's all exceptional. And Forman's at the centre of all of it, like a master conductor.
Yeah.
Get a pink wig on.
Yeah.
I've said before that I think 2001 A Space Odyssey might be Hollywood's greatest work of art. I'm not going back on that. But honestly, Amadeus is right in there in the running for number 2 for me.
Okay.
For its cinematic presentation of stunning music.
Yeah.
And Forman did a sensational job directing it in my eyes.
I mean, you're allowed to change your mind, John, if you want. I know you're so close.
You sound like you convinced yourself.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not going back on that, bastard.
Regret saying that now.
Milos Forman is, like you've said, you've took the words out of my mouth, he's the conductor of this film. He makes the film like it is an opera itself. He cuts like you would cut music. He cuts from scenes as if you would cut to a different instrument. You could go to Milos Forman and say to him, there's too many shots in this. And he's like, tell us what to take out there. And you would have that exact reaction. There's nothing you can take out of this.
Yeah.
It's got exactly the right amount of shots in exactly the right places. It's almost like Mozart's music.
Yeah.
And again, from the stage play, it's what he leaves out, not what he puts in, that makes it, again, accessible and cinematic, but not like stuffy cinematic, like I'm going to appreciate cinema and show you what I can do. It seems like it's all naturally relevant for the rhythm that he's creating. And it's just such a great use of framing. There's a great use of pace, and there's a great use of authenticity, even though you can see through the cracks. But we're not tearing this apart like we'd tear Braveheart apart or tear, anything else. It was meant to be based on something real. But there's a lot of loopholes in this where you go, well, that didn't really happen.
Oh, blood,
but what he does, he makes it so that you don't care or you can't really tell.
Yeah.
And he just kind of masks over it a little bit. He's using kind of up-to-date masking tape on something that's quite old school, so you cannot notice the cracks. What he's doing with ease, it takes Baz Luhrmann 5 years of shouting about it to make something like a stage play as cinematic as this, as appreciative as this, and as little about Milos Forman as possible, and as most about the characters and the crew. It's kind of, he's put everybody first, and it's not like a Milos Forman film. It's Amadeus.
Yeah.
And that really hits home for me.
I agree. You can see him in there though, can't you, as well?
Oh, 100% you can, but I don't think he cares about that.
No.
And that comes across in the film. He's telling a story, and the story is first and foremost. It's really showing off, but not telling anyone who's done it. It's like Batman.
Yeah, it's both. You're right. It's selfless and showing off at the same time.
Yeah, it is. Brilliant. Selflessly showing off. I don't think anyone else has done that before.
Well, Amadeus was based on a famous stage play, as we mentioned. So, as usual, we're going to quickly tell the story of how it made the trip from stage to screen. Mm-hmm. And, as usual, Matt's insisted to be the one to tell that story.
Yes, I did.
So, Mozart, take it away.
Mozart, yes.
Very nice. Peter Shaffer was an English playwright known for Echoes, a psychological drama that had been adapted for the screen in 1977 by Sidney Lumet. He was a fan of classical music and had always been fascinated by the difference between the beauty of Mozart's music and the vulgarity in his letters. So his play Amadeus debuted in the London National Theatre in 1979 and then went to Broadway in 1980.
Have you heard who the cast was in that original Broadway run?
No.
So Tim Curry was Mozart.
Oh, fantastic.
Salieri, Ian McKellen. And Constanza, Jane Seymour.
Wow.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow. And then Milos Forman saw the play at the London premiere and approached Peter Shaffer during the intermission and told him he's going to make a film of it.
Doesn't hang about, does Forman. Apparently he said, it's a wonderful drama and would even be wonderful if Mozart and Salieri were not in it. I mean, would it? What would it be about?
Right.
Totally different, surely.
He's lost his mind. He doesn't care.
So Forman then spoke to Saul Zaentz, who had produced One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and told him they should get the rights. Zaentz agreed and shopped their idea around Hollywood, but no studios were interested. And in the end, the Saul Zaentz company produced the film entirely. The production budget ended up being $18 million and it was distributed by Orion Pictures, as we've mentioned on our Terminator episode.
We did mention that. James Cameron was furious, obviously.
Yeah.
But you know where he got his money from to fund his movie career, Saul Zaentz?
No.
So he owned Fantasy Records, who Creedence Clearwater Revival signed to in the 60s.
Yeah.
And they made him a boatload of money, cashing in on Bad Moon Rising. And they fell out. I think Zaentz made a lot more out of Creedence than they did out of him. And then he ploughed it all straight into Amadeus.
Right. The advantage of Zaentz putting up all the money was that it meant he and Forman had complete control over the production, and Forman told him that only 3 cities still had the architecture they needed to create the authentic 18th century Vienna: Budapest, Vienna or Prague. Forman said that his home city of Prague was pretty much untouched due to communist inefficiency, so they decided to film there.
Communist inefficiency. There's a selling point for your tourist board.
Yeah, get that on your t-shirts.
But I think this is pretty cool. In the whole film, all the locations we see, and there's a lot, we only ever see 4 sets. So almost all of it is real.
Right.
So the scenes in the Archbishop and the Emperor's Palace, as we talked about, both filmed at the Grispek Palace in Prague. Mm-hmm. And there's some even more amazing places they got into as well that we'll talk about as we go.
Right.
But, I mean, that's one of the reasons it looks so authentic. It kind of was.
Yeah, because it is, yeah.
The locations are mostly real, yeah.
The filming in communist Czechoslovakia brought problems, though. The production crew was often followed around by the STB, the Czech Secret Police, partly because Forman was considered a traitor for becoming an American citizen.
Wow.
And on the 4th of July 1983, they were filming one of the opera scenes, and to celebrate Independence Day, the crew had a huge American flag unfurled on stage and they played the national anthem. And Forman said there were 600 extras and about 30 of them didn't stand up for the anthem because they were members of the secret police.
Gives your game away, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds a bit tense.
Yeah, not very secret anymore.
No.
Yeah, well, Forman said that he thought it was all going to kick off, but it didn't, thankfully.
Right. The production designer was Patricia von Brandenstein. She'd worked with Forman on Ragtime and had a reputation for authentic historical set design. The 4 sets we talked about that were created were Salieri's hospital room, which said that at the start, Mozart's apartment, the stairway outside Mozart's apartment, and the Waltz Theatre where Magic Flute plays. For Amadeus, von Brandenstein became the first woman to win an Oscar for Best Art Direction. And fucking deservedly so, because if you ask me which are the 4 sets, I couldn't tell you.
Absolutely not, yeah, fully deserved. And you know what else she designed, Patricia von Brandenstein?
It could be anything as long as it's fantastic.
Well, it is. I think it is anyway.
Yeah, well, obviously our talents know no bounds doing this. So literally, you could say anything and I go, yep, I believe it.
Well, she also designed John Travolta's white 3-piece suit for Saturday Night Fever.
There we are.
Amazing.
Iconic.
If Salieri wants to outdo Mozart, just get that thing on.
Exactly.
And the production used real antiques provided by the Czech government and Ministry of Culture. These included museum pieces, period furniture, and French tapestries dating from the 1750s.
I mean, the production design is ridiculous.
It is.
Any shots when we see people walking through a courtyard or through streets or anywhere, it feels so authentic. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure they might have actually shot this in the 1780s.
Yeah. And Theodor Pistek was a Czech artist with a reputation for being an expert in historical costume design. Forman hired him as costume designer, and he created about 700 costumes by basing them on the work of 2 18th century French painters, Jean-Honoré Fragonard and Jean-Antoine Watteau, and his team created about 1,500 wigs that cost $500,000.
Wowza. I like how Mozart's current state of mind is usually shown in his choice of wig. When he's happy, pink wig.
Yeah.
Things start going badly, like unkempt white wig. And then when he's completely off the rails, dirty brown wig.
Yeah.
We talk about visual storytelling quite a lot on this. I think this is the first time I've seen wiggable storytelling.
And probably the last, I would have thought.
I know.
I'd love them to bring that back, the old wig for your mood.
Yeah.
Just a ball cap for me every day.
Well, before we sign off on Milos Forman, we're going to ask and answer our first Patreon question.
Okay.
So, as well as all those great benefits we mentioned at the start, if you sign up to become an ATRM patron, we'll answer your questions on the show as well. We have the first now. It is on the director, and it comes from Michael Smith.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, Michael.
So Michael says, if Amadeus still feels strikingly modern, how much of that is down to Milos Forman's direction, and how does it compare to how other directors have approached historical subjects? Does Forman bring something distinct in tone to structure that filmmakers like Paul Thomas Anderson or David Fincher also tap into? Great question from Michael.
It is a great question, yeah.
What do you think, Westy? How does Forman do in delivering the 18th century to us, or us to it?
Yeah, I think we've touched on it a little bit there, talking about the production design. I think we'll get into it further. But I think there's this real lack of weight to what you're seeing on the screen. It seems like it's effortless.
Yeah.
And it's not stuffy. It makes it accessible, like I said at the start. I think it's the dialogue, the way that's delivered. I think it's the use of the accents. The lighting doesn't seem stuffy and of the period. Yes, the locations are, but I think they've been lit separately to make that a little bit more accessible. Not look like a set, but it's something that you're familiar with as a modern audience. I think Paul Thomas Anderson did that, especially in Boogie Nights. Even if you look at the costumes in Boogie Nights, you don't go, oh, all of these were made. You just think, this is the 70s.
Yeah.
And there's camera movements in this, there's zooms that are in this that you're familiar with. We talked about Salieri at the start. When that zoom comes in, you're familiar with that by now. You know what's happening there. There's a lot of centre framing in this that I'll get into later on that makes it very accessible for the audience.
Lovely.
It seems modern, despite the content, and I think that's the point. I think the filmmaking techniques really complement what you're seeing on the screen and work with it instead of against it. And if you look at something that's hard to get into, that I'll stand by, something like Barry Lyndon, the weight of that, you couldn't even quote it, but you remember what it looks like. What he does is he combines all of these elements to give what I'm going to, a coin, maybe, it's probably out there somewhere, but a modern timelessness.
Yeah.
That's what this brings.
Right.
There's a modernity to it, but again, it's like it could be at any time. But like you said, John, it's like they've gone back in a time machine, filmed it, and then just came straight back.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think Michael's touched on something quite important. Amadeus is set between about 1760s to 1820s or something, and it feels authentic to that, but it does also feel modern. And I think a huge part of that is Forman's approach. I think what he does is that he treats the period with respect, not by saying, look how beautiful it is, but by saying, look how relatable it is.
Yeah.
Mozart's making vulgar jokes. Salieri is like jealous and petty. Compare that to your classic period film at the time, something like maybe A Man from All Seasons a few years earlier. Very stately, very theatrical, kind of keeps the audience at arm's length a bit.
Yeah.
But Forman doesn't do that. He's making a film about humans, first and foremost, just as much as he does in Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
And I agree that, yeah, you definitely can see this approach in filmmakers like PTA and Fincher. There Will Be Blood has that modern timelessness that you're talking about, Westy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The narrative structure, the social network, an unreliable narrator telling the story in flashbacks, almost identical to Amadeus. I think Forman showed that you can make a 3-hour costume drama that feels alive, and as alive as like a modern thriller a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Thinking of a lot of it is down to Forman. Like I said, his decision to cast Americans, it stops us feeling dated and overly stuffy. The editing, the pacing of this is down to him. I think the biggest comparison for me is exactly the one that Westy pointed out. It's Barry Lyndon and what Kubrick did on that, because that is so deliberately paced. In that whole film, it feels like it's shot behind a pane of glass and you can't touch it. I feel like I can touch this film. You know, Kubrick was going for complete and total realism. I don't think Forman is. I think he's much more relaxed about this.
Yeah.
And because of that, this doesn't feel distant or overly reverent at all. I really understand how these characters are feeling, which I don't really get with Barry Lyndon. And like I say, that's the biggest comparison for me.
Yeah. If Barry Lyndon's a world that's hard to get into, Amadeus is a world that's hard to get out of.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I know.
Well, for his work on Amadeus, Milos Forman was nominated for Best Director at the Oscars and won. His second after One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The film was also nominated for Best Picture and won that too. beating out the killing fields, a passage to India, places in the heart, and a soldier's story.
Right.
2 Oscars in 10 years for Forman then, and for us, some great direction in Amadeus.
Brilliant work.
Some brilliant direction, yeah.
The cast.
Milos Forman's casting choices for Amadeus were unexpected, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Passed over big names and stars for relative unknowns, and that's who we're getting into now. We're going to be talking about Elizabeth Berridge as Mozart's long-suffering wife Constanza, but we should probably start with the 2 men at the heart of the rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, yeah.
So starting with the title character, Tom Hulce plays Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. The vulgar genius at the centre of our story, we follow Mozart from his arrival at the Viennese court through his triumphs, his marriage, his decline, and ultimately his death at just 35 years old. A boastful, lustful, smutty, infantile boy, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And so is Mozart. So how is Tom Hulce?
I knew that was coming.
And Wolfie?
I think Hulce is the most brilliantly inappropriate casting I think I've ever seen, because to cast him, who throughout this doesn't look like a composer in the way that Abraham does, with that hair, he looks like he should be like the front man in some new romantic group from the 80s. And yet...
Adamant.
Yeah, totally. Or Duran Duran, whoever. The fact that he's so out of place in this world and amongst everyone else, and it's the obvious joke of the film. How can such glorious and beautiful music come from this idiot?
Yeah.
Because he is such an overindulged child, like when he's being led in to see the emperor and he's hopping about and he's trying to walk faster than the guards, he's trying to peek over the shoulders. It's like he's had 200 Smarties and it's all just kicking off in his head. And ultimately, he is a nightmare to spend time with. So maybe Hulce's biggest triumph is I end up liking him more than I probably should. And I think that is down to Hulce.
Yeah.
And I think if you can give a performance that has one aspect to it that people still talk about to this day, then you've done a great job. And if nothing else, Hulce's laugh in this is iconic. Once you've heard it, you'll never forget it.
Yeah.
Tom Hulce. Thomas Edward Hulce. I've got some questions. First of all, who is he? Secondly, why is he here? And how is he so good? Because he's outrageously good as Mozart. I mean, yeah, he's playing a great character, huge historical figure, and the writing is superb. But he's not a passenger, Tom Hulce. He brings stuff to this, for me.
Yeah.
There's times he's playing a giggling child, and I believe it. He's playing a torture genius, and I believe it. We get humour, drama, sadness, tragedy, romance. He nails all of it to the door, like Martin Luther, and then went, right, that's enough of that. You'll not see me again. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And there's brilliance in the writing. Mozart's written as kind of the antagonist in his own biopic. We experience the story through Salieri's eyes, and Mozart is essentially the villain who destroys Salieri's life just by, existing. And great choice by Peter Shaffer in the writing, because that means he can explore genius, from the outside looking in, which is how we experience it in real life.
Yeah.
So we don't get Mozart internal monologues. We're seen through the eyes of someone who understands he's a genius and literally explains to us, the audience, why. And basically he's a genius because he doesn't just write great music, he can write it all in his head. And more depth of Mozart, he's a contradiction. When he criticises Salieri's March, he says, funny little tune, but it yielded some good things. It's brutal, but I don't think he's being malicious. He just doesn't understand that would hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah.
I think Mozart was musically pitch perfect, like we said, but the writing makes him, emotionally tone deaf, which is great.
Yeah.
So there's loads going on, and in capturing the essence of the character, I think Hulce might get the best line when Mozart says to the Emperor, forgive me, Majesty, I'm a vulgar man, but my music is not. Brilliant line. And Hulce, brilliant, for some reason, in the role.
Yeah. I think he's brilliant in the fact that he's not playing the lead and doesn't try to. And there's no pretension in that whatsoever. He's wonderful in every scene with Murray Abraham. He's absolutely... They're both electric together, and it's the way they work off each other, I think, really helps the characters, because there's an irony to this performance. And he is so childlike, it's pretty unlikable in places, but at the same time, really fucking captivating.
Yeah.
And for Hulce, it's the one that really stands out. You don't doubt he's a genius.
Yeah.
That's really hard to pull off.
Yeah.
It's really hard to pull off. And the fact that his performances, not only musically, but emotionally, just seem absolutely note perfect. It's iconic, but there's a huge irony, like I've said, because Salieri could have really helped him. They could have really helped each other, because Salieri could have taught him about an emotion and the way to be around people, and he could have taught Salieri more about music, but they're always battling off each other. And Hulce, as Mozart, doesn't realise there's a battle going on.
No.
He's so unengaged with it.
He's got no clue what's going on, has he?
Not a clue about anything, really, apart from, like, there's too many notes. That's all he's thinking about is the notes.
Yeah.
Nothing else. And it really, really works. He's really charismatic. He's really brilliant on the screen and electric with anyone he's in. And doesn't steal a single scene, I don't think. He's just part of it all.
Well, the casting directors on the film were Mary Goldberg and Maggie Cartier, and they said that Forman told them that he wasn't interested in stars. Mozart and Salieri were the stars, and he wanted to find the perfect actors.
Yeah.
So they held about 1,400 auditions, apparently, and loads of names were up for the part of Mozart. Do you know any of those names?
Was Curry back? Do you know, Matt?
I do know. Forman said that when Saul Zaentz was shocking the film around Hollywood, one studio said they would fund the film on the condition that Forman cast Walter Matthau as Mozart. And Forman said no. Yeah.
Jack Lemmon and Salieri.
Yeah, amazing.
Linguini on the walls. Surely Matthau, far too old? Mozart died when he was 35. Matthau would have already been 60-odd at that point.
Yeah.
He could have done Salieri, though, I guess, but he would have had to put younger makeup on him as opposed to older makeup.
And at the time Forman was cast in the part, the stage play was running on Broadway, and Mozart was being played by Mark Hamill, and he did meet with Forman, but said he was told very early on Forman had no intention of casting him.
Yeah, Hamill said that Forman told him, people will not believe Luke Spacewalker as Mozart.
Right.
Savage.
Yeah, you can see a bit of that performance in his Joker, though, for the animated Batman series, I think.
Yeah, there was a histrionic laugh in that as well, isn't there? So maybe he took something from that, yeah.
Yeah.
And other big names auditioned, including Tim Curry, like I mentioned, and Mel Gibson. Kenneth Branagh was in the running and later said he thought he had the part in the bag until Forman decided the part had to be played by an American.
Right.
Yeah, so Tim Curry, he played Mozart on Broadway, like we said. Mm-hmm. And Branagh, I could see, I think.
At that time, yeah.
Gibson, not so much.
Yeah.
Huge mullet.
Yeah.
Wouldn't need the wig anyway, at least.
Yeah. Mad Mozart.
And the child Mozart, who we see playing piano and violin at the start of the film, he was played by Miroslav Sekera, a 9-year-old professional Czech pianist.
Right.
Yeah, seeing that little boy playing piano, and it's clear as day that he's actually playing.
Yeah.
I think it adds so much credibility. It looks great.
It does, yeah, massively. And Hulce threw himself into the part, as we've discussed. He knew how to play the guitar before shooting, but spent 6 hours a day for 6 months learning how to play piano as well. The music we hear was recorded by session musicians, but Hulce learned how to play every piece of music in the film so he could recreate it on screen, and you can really tell.
Oh, you really can. Apparently, music professors have studied the film, and they've confirmed that every time we see one of the cast playing a piece of music, what they're playing on the screen is exactly what we're hearing in the film.
Right.
And that includes the bit at the party where Mozart plays like Bach while lying on his back.
Oh, backwards and upside. Yeah.
Backwards.
Exactly. Hulce is playing all the right notes.
And as mentioned, one of the most memorable things about Mozart in the film is his laugh, but it's debated how accurate it actually is. Some sources have said that letters written between two women who knew Mozart described his laugh as being infectious, giddy, and like metal scraping glass. A musicologist called Robert Marshall carried out research into Mozart, though, and said he could find no evidence to describe how he did actually laugh.
Yeah, Robert Marshall said the laugh was created as a dramatic device for the film that represented God's laughter, which is what Salieri says.
Yeah.
That wasn't Mozart laughing, Father. That was God laughing.
Yeah, I think it's from Salieri's point of view as well when we see the laugh for the first time. And I think it continues through the film that it's his interpretation of that.
Yeah.
It pisses him off.
It gets worse as it goes on, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And Tom Hulce said that Forman asked him to create something extreme for Mozart's laugh. And he said he based it on a director he knew, though he's never said who that director was. And he also said he practiced the laugh in public by bursting into it in the middle of department stores to see how people would react.
Right.
I mean, it's basically like a sound effect for Forman to use. It's a great characterization for Mozart. There's times that it's funny, there's times that it's obnoxious, there's times that it's sad. But Forman uses it to transition between scenes. He even ends the film on it.
Yeah, it's a great cutting device.
Yeah.
And Hulce also said he based the character on John McEnroe, particularly McEnroe's mood swings and outbursts. He studied footage of McEnroe's on-court tantrums and used that to create some of Mozart's childish behaviour.
You cannot be serious, Matt.
Yeah, too many notes. You cannot be serious.
Mozart in a red headband.
Just that white wig, red headband, little shorts on, wooden racket, furious.
For his performance as Mozart, Tom Hulce was nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars. We'll let you know who won in a few minutes, but for us, in making Mozart both divine and very human, some pretty good stuff from Tom Hulce.
Yeah, wonderful. It's almost like he's not a real person.
From one half of our music rivalry to the other, and F. Murray Abraham, who plays Antonio Salieri. Court composer, devout Catholic, and the man who may or may not have murdered Mozart, we follow Salieri from his lofty position at the height of Viennese society through his descent into jealousy, plotting, and ultimately, old age. So, Westy, F. Murray Abraham as Salieri, is he the patron saint of mediocrities?
I mean, not his performance, no. It's anything but. It's absolutely incredible. And if you want too many notes, that's my sheet of paper right now. Just on F. Murray Abraham. But honestly, I just kept going and kept going. I said that Tom Hulce doesn't really steal a scene. He's just part of it, and that really works. F. Murray Abraham steals every single scene he's in. He absolutely nails it to the wall. Even when he's got no dialogue, his look of rejection, his look of loss and pain.
Yeah.
He's been betrayed by God himself.
Yeah.
And you fucking feel it. You kind of go, he really has. Yeah, I get that. But it's just so many times he's just heartbroken and he's just so confused, and there's such a regret in this performance, and there's a consistency to the character, being in the older version, the younger version.
Yeah.
He's got the same take throughout, no matter which version of Salieri you're watching, and this misplaced faith at the end of the film, in that he just had faith in something, and if he just had faith in music and himself, I think his life would have been so different.
Yeah.
And you can tell that from the end, and there's nothing wrong with being mediocre. You've just got to appreciate that and work on it. He didn't want to work on it, he wanted a gift from God.
Yeah.
And you can tell that in the performance. He's really longing for the easy way out. He wants to just be given something. And that's why he takes a lot of desserts. He doesn't want the main course. He doesn't want the starter. He doesn't want to work through anything. He wants the thing at the end. He wants the big glitz and the glamour.
Yeah.
And every single note on that character that I've just said, F. Murray Abraham delivers every single time in every single scene. It's an incredible performance, because I was waiting for at some point to go, right, well, the mask's going to slip here. He's going to have to run out of steam at some point. And he never, ever does in a 3-hour runtime. It's fantastic. And I honestly wanted to see more of him.
I mean, F. Murray Abraham. I've got some questions.
Here we go.
Why is he here? What's going on? Who are these guys? I mean, where to start with Salieri? Firstly, he loves a scheme, doesn't he? Always scheming, cooking something up.
Yeah,
But as a character, he is kind of the lead. It's a Mozart biopic told through his eyes, which works brilliantly. He's kind of the villain and the hero at the same time.
It is.
And Salieri's used to explore some of the main themes of the film, like jealousy and religion, faith. What's tragic is that he's got just about everything that he wants. He's wealthy, he's successful, he's respected, but he doesn't have Mozart's genius, and it drives him literally mad.
Yeah.
He is a narcissist. He sees everything as being about him. His dad dies, God's accepted his deal. Mozart shows up, God's mocking him. He could have taken it as God put him in Vienna to facilitate Mozart's genius, to help bring this beautiful music into the world. But no, it's all about Salieri, which makes him a great tragic character.
Yeah.
And the acting, it's ridiculous. Abraham's great all the way through, but it's the scenes as old Salieri where he's breathtaking, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's clearly having a whale of a time as the old fella, and rightly, because the dialogue he's been given is magnificent, but the delivery's there as well.
Oh, yeah.
He's got loads of great moments, but my favourite might be where he reveals his plan to the priest to have Mozart write a requiem for his own funeral.
Yeah.
He's like, Mozart's little coffin, and in the silence, music. And the death mass starts to play. It's massive. He goes through like reverence, joy, into anger, and then he's all calm and calculated, all in about 30 seconds. And it's like, well, that's some of the best acting I've ever seen then. And I've no idea at all why that's not put up there in the great movie monologues, because I find it totally mesmerising.
Yeah.
And honestly, with the level of the writing and the acting being as high as it is, when you're talking greatest Hollywood characters, Salieri's in that conversation for me. I think he's incredible.
I think that monologue's not in there because it's a standout moment of the film, whereas I think he's so consistent. Every moment's a standout.
Yeah,
so his
yeah.
monologue would have to be every single line he says.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're probably right.
As you said, that's some of the best acting I've ever seen. I'm like, I don't even know if he's acting. I have no idea.
There's such an elegance and precision to this performance. Abraham is someone who's very theatrical, and he'd be amazing to see on stage. But he knows how to take all this dialogue and sell it on screen. And I think he's the most British American actor I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There's something very like Laurence Olivier or John Gielgud about him.
Yeah, very classic, isn't he?
Yeah, really classic, and just an absolute gift of a part. There's so much to sink your teeth into with Salieri as an actor. And I think maybe the most striking thing for me is so much of this performance is Salieri being really hacked off with Mozart. The amount of times Forman cuts to Abraham and he's got a face like a bulldog chewing a wasp, permanently scowling, constantly furious, constantly biting back this eruption of hatred he's got boiling away inside. But Abraham's performance always finds a different way to show this. It never gets boring. I never feel like, oh God, I've seen this bit, come on, do something else. Mm-hmm. Like, this performance could really be overshadowed by the mania you get from Mozart, but it never is.
Yeah.
And Abraham always makes sure you feel slightly sorry for him. No matter how nefarious he gets in his plans, there's always that little bit of empathy you have for him. I think that's all down to Abraham.
I mean, it's the same character traits and the same furious nature as Basil Fawlty, but the way that he delivers it, he's just constantly frustrated and pissed off, but it's a completely different take. It's unbelievable.
Well, according to Forman, every major star wanted to be Salieri at the time he was casting, and there were a few big names auditioned for the part, if you'd care to hear some.
Yeah.
So Burt Reynolds was an early candidate.
Right.
Wow.
Massive tash for Salieri.
Lovely, that.
Really hairy chest.
Yeah, Mozart will be jealous of Salieri's tash.
Of course he will. Salieri and the Bandit have been great.
Donald Sutherland read for the part, as did Sam Waterston.
Okay.
Al Pacino apparently wanted the part and lobbied for it.
Right.
What would you think of Pacino as Salieri kicking off?
Yeah. That would have been great.
Well, another worldwide star lobbied for the part as well. So, would you like to have seen Salieri played by Mick Jagger?
Surely not.
No, I wouldn't.
Definitely not.
Jagger and Boy prancing about.
I would like to see that in like a short film, maybe. In a music video. That would have been good.
Yeah.
And Abraham originally auditioned for the part of Count Rosenberg, who we mentioned earlier. And during one audition session, Forman asked him to stay back and read with other actors as Salieri. And Forman was so blown away that he told Abraham he was his number one choice to play him instead.
Yeah, Abraham apparently said to him, number one choice, I mean, great, but what does that mean? Have I got the part or not?
Yeah.
But he hadn't prepared anything as old Salieri, so apparently he just had to make it up on the spot. So it must have been good.
Yeah.
And then Forman told Abraham he wanted to get him back in for more auditions. But Abraham said, no, I'm paid in my kitchen. And apparently Forman said to Saul Zaentz, this guy thinks he's a great actor, he's just had breaks against him, and not Salieri. And that's why he was cast.
Yeah, Forman must have seen some potential in him playing Salieri, I think, which is why he asked him to stand in the auditions.
Yeah.
Just to see what he was like. Ridiculously good, as it turns out.
Yep.
Abraham said that he and Tom Hulce respected each other but weren't friends during filming. Hulce was in another hotel with the rest of the cast and they would throw parties and stopped inviting Abraham as he never showed up. And Abraham said he was jealous of Hulce because he got on so well with the rest of the cast and crew, which... that's pretty perfect, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I bet Forman was loving it. The turning into the characters, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, like leaving Matt Damon out when they're doing the boot camp on Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. So the resentment when he turns up.
Said the opposite of that, isn't it? Yeah.
Before filming started, Abraham learned to read and conduct music for the role, and he went through a lot to become old Salieri. The makeup artist on the film was Dick Smith, and it took 4.5 hours every day for him to turn Abraham into a 75-year-old man. Smith's aging makeup for Salieri was 8 separate foam latex pieces that covered his whole face except for his nose. He also had contact lenses that gave the eyes a faded appearance, liver spots were added to his skin, and he wore a ball cap with thin and white hair. As we said, it took 4.5 hours to apply it every day and revolutionised aging makeup in Hollywood, where one-piece masks tended to be used before that.
Right.
Yeah, Dick Smith, makeup legend, turned Marlon Brando into the Godfather, didn't he?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Apparently he created the Salieri prosthetics working all alone in his basement and then flew into Prague with all the makeup himself. And Abraham said that getting into character was pretty easy because all he had to do was kind of look in the mirror. I mean, it does look fantastic as old Salieri.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah.
For his performance as Salieri, F. Murray Abraham won the Academy Award for Best Actor, beating out Tom Hulce.
Yeah.
Have you seen his acceptance speech, though?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's really good. He praises Forman in the writing and everything, and then he says, the only thing missing is I should have Tom Hulce standing by my side.
Yeah.
Classy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
It would have been great if they'd given it to both of them.
That would
Yeah, would have been perfect.
Yeah.
And for us, an Oscar-worthy turn from F. Murray Abraham as Salieri.
100%.
And then some.
The last, but by no means least, cast member we're going to talk about is Elizabeth Berridge, who plays Constanza Mozart, née Weber. The landlady's daughter who captures Wolfie's heart, Stanzi marries him, then stands by him through poverty, alcoholism, and death. A charming young lady, according to Emperor Joseph, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
How is Constanza and Elizabeth Berridge in the role?
I think her performance really works because Hulce's performance really works. They are a pair in this.
Mm-hmm.
If they'd cast Branagh, like we mentioned, she wouldn't work at all.
No.
Cliche choice, we'd probably cast Emma Thompson or maybe Helen Mirren back then.
Yeah, I was going to say it would need to be Helen Mirren or Meryl Streep.
But because it's Hulce with this undisguised American accent, almost playing it like a jock at some point, you can have Berridge with her accent, almost playing like a cheerleader. I think she's very likeable. I think she does fit in.
Yeah.
If someone was to say she's the weak link in the film, I'd probably agree, not to be too harsh. The whole Wolfie thing does get a bit annoying.
Yeah.
But like I say, she comes as a pair with Hulce, and that's why she works so well.
Yeah, as far as the cast goes, I think Stanzi's kind of the secret weapon. In a film dominated by these two huge characters, she kind of grounds it.
Yeah.
It's nice to see a character who's actually like a normal human being, because the other two are away with the fairies. Where Mozart's banging on about magic flutes, Stanzi's like, we don't have any money, you lunatic. So she's oriented his way into the world in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And through Stanzi, we see different sides to Mozart. We see him as a husband, as a father, as a son. Now he has limitations in all those areas, like most people do. Mm-hmm. It makes him human. And I buy that Stanzi falls from, because she's not just a put-upon wife. We do see moments where they're getting along, like the intro that we talked about, or when she says about Chicanada's money. Mm-hmm. I want it here in my hand. And Mozart goes, I'll put it in your hand. She loves a dirty joke, Stanzi. So she's got the right guy, yeah. And Elizabeth Berridge, I think she's really good. She was only 21 when they filmed this. And I mean, look at what she's dealing with.
Yeah.
Milos Forman, at the peak of his powers, two actors who were duking it out at the Oscars, the music of Mozart, and I think she holds her own. She has a few great scenes, but I like her at the end. She comes back to the apartment and the place is trashed. Mozart needs her, so by the time she returns, he's a wreck. Salieri's there for some reason, and she just sorts everyone out. Locks the Requiem away in the case and tells Salieri to sling his hook.
That's it, yeah.
An essential character in the writing, and also in what Elizabeth Berridge brings, anchors the whole film, for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just this anchored performance. I think you can tell that she loves Mozart and his talent is almost secondary. It's just kind of additional to who he is.
Yeah.
She has an innocence and a strength at the same time.
She does.
She's very innocent in that she wants to know what's going on, but she keeps him grounded. He would just be away with it, like you said. He would absolutely fly away.
He'd have no chance.
She is perfect between the two of them. And I think you can see that throughout the whole film. I think she's wonderful. She really plays it well. She really knows her place. She doesn't go too over the top on the scenes, but she absolutely weighs everything down. And she's the humanity of the film and plays that really well.
She does, for sure.
And the first person Forman thought about casting as Constanza was Amy Irving, who had played it in the Broadway version of the play. But she wasn't keen on flying to a communist-controlled Prague for 6 months. Who would? So declined. Yeah. Forman then went through a casting process. Rebecca De Mornay and Elizabeth McGovern both auditioned.
Right.
Elizabeth McGovern, she'd been in Ragtime, Forman's film before this, but obviously must have felt she wasn't right here for whatever reason.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after auditioning, Forman then cast Meg Tilly because he liked her performance in Psycho 2. She did table reads and dress rehearsals, but the day before filming was due to start, she was playing football with some locals in the street in Prague and tore a ligament in a knee, meaning she had to be replaced.
Oh, nightmare.
Yeah, same injury that Ronaldo got in the 90s, apparently, so she must have been good.
I'll stick the movies. Psycho 2's mint. She's great in 2.
But yeah, that's devastating. There's images of Meg Tilly as Stanzi with Tom Hulce as well, and she looks the part.
Right.
Yeah.
And Hulce said she was absolute dynamite in the rehearsals as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to have seen her.
Did he say it was the day before?
Yeah, day before.
Oh, nightmare. See, don't do sports, guys.
There you go, there's your proof.
There's your proof.
So an emergency casting session had to be held, and Forman auditioned 60 actresses at short notice and chose 2 possible replacements, Diane Franklin and Elizabeth Berridge, who was recommended to the casting directors by her acting teacher, Warren Robertson.
Yeah, apparently neither Franklin nor Berridge had auditioned the first time round, so seems a pretty strange choice by Forman, but I mean, it worked, so...
Totally. And then both actresses spent a week in Prague with Forman, and he made his decision by saying to them, you both have the part, but one of you is just too pretty to play Constanza, so I'm going to have to cast Elizabeth.
Oh.
Yeah, Elizabeth Berridge said she felt like she'd won the booby prize.
Yeah,
Right.
But also, Diane Franklin must have been like, hang on, I look no different now to how I did before you brought me all the way to Prague for a whole week. So
The real Constanza came from a musical family herself. She was a trained soprano and would rehearse with Mozart, and her sisters Josefa and Aloisa were sopranos who performed in Mozart's operas.
yeah, we don't see any of that in the film, Stanley's musical background. Not sure if it would work quite as well if we did. It's good that she's not musical, I think.
Yeah, it would have complicated things.
No Oscars recognition for Elizabeth Berridge for playing Constanza, but a good supporting turn for us.
Great, yeah.
And that is the main Amadeus cast. Tom Hulce bringing Mozart to giggling life, F. Murray Abraham creating one of cinema's great tragic villains/heroes, and Elizabeth Berridge grounding it all with some warmth and humanity.
Definitely.
3 very different performances that mesh together very well for us.
Yep.
Indeed, yeah, absolutely.
The middle.
Heading into the middle of Amadeus, and the rivalry between Mozart and Salieri intensifies. We're going to be looking at the scenes around the marriage of Figaro, one of Mozart's most famous works, but first, we've got a couple of big character sequences to get into.
We do.
So with Mozart established at court, Constanza visits Salieri hoping to secure a royal appointment for her husband. Then Mozart's father, Leopold, played by Roy Dotrius, turns up. Mozart takes him to a masquerade party, plays piano and mocks Salieri, not realising the Italian maestro is also there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, ready for some nipples of Venus?
Always. Because when Stanzi shows up with Mozart's originals to argue his case, I think it's one of the best scenes in showing all of Salieri's character, because from his perspective, there's no way this little girl in his eyes is going to tell him what to do or make demands of him. Which, no, you have to read this now. You have to read this now.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's just trying to win it over with those sweets, that just tells you what he thinks of her. She's just a child in his eyes. And it's this full-on charm offensive, don't call me excellency, I was born in a small town. So desperate to get these Mozart originals to try and sabotage him somehow. But the thing that's fascinating to me about Salieri is his love of music and how he appreciates it. It always wins out over the jealousy he has for Mozart. So when he starts reading that music, you can see how sickened he is because it's so good.
Yeah.
As he says, not one note out of place, remove one phrase and the whole thing would collapse. And he is just off in this reverie of what it sounds like in his head. And I think one of the best things this film does is making us as an audience who may not have an appreciation of what truly is brilliant about this music understand it all the same because of Salieri's reaction to it. And my quote at the top, it is miraculous. He just can't deny it, and that makes it even worse for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I think almost everything that makes Amadeus brilliant is right here in this scene. The music, acting, performances, and Forman kind of weaving it all together into a story. How charming is Stanzi? Her reaction when Salieri tells her the cakes are called nipples of Venus, and she's like shocked. And then she eats one and she's like, She's great. But the standout is obviously the music. When Salieri reads Mozart's manuscript and we hear the music in his head again, we're cutting from one piece of music to the next as Salieri tears through the sheets. Brilliant. But also it's treat like a lady, Salieri. She told you the originals, God's sakes.
Yeah, yeah.
And then at the same time, we're cutting back and forth to old man Salieri explaining why it's all so brilliant. It's so well put together. And the dialogue as Salieri describes Mozart's work. Music finished as no music is ever finished. Displace one note and there would be diminishment. It's outrageous dialogue.
Yeah.
And it works so well. I just can't get enough of it. To me, the filmmaking here matches the brilliance it's describing Mozart as having. And not for the last time either. It's fantastic.
Yeah. The nipples of Venus that were mentioned, that Salieri gives to Constanza, weren't made up. They were real Italian chocolates at the time. But when they filmed it, they were made of marzipan cakes, and Elizabeth Berridge didn't know that she could spit them out between takes, so kept swallowing them. She later said they were disgusting and made her sick.
Well, huge lumps of marzipan would make you sick, yeah?
Definitely would, yeah.
But Salieri's munching on cake and chocolate all the way through the film, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's taking a vow of celibacy in exchange of God giving him musical talent. So that desire comes out in his sweet tooth, is the idea, surely?
Yeah, yeah.
Lovely touch in the character writing that.
Yeah, it's great.
And there's a director's cut of the film, and that came out in 2002. It's 20 minutes longer than the theatrical version and has a few extra scenes. And the biggest difference probably comes in this scene, because after Salieri has looked over Mozart's music, he tells Constanza to come back up that night, and if she sleeps with him, he'll give Mozart the job. Constanza does come back, but Salieri has her thrown out instead.
Right.
Yeah, I prefer without that scene. Salieri goes way too far. He totally humiliates Stanzi, and then after it's like, hang on, you still didn't get Mozart the job? What a bastard.
Yeah. So, Mozart's taking Leopold to a party. That's what I'm going to talk about, because this is a great party, this.
Yeah, it looks
This is fantastic.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It's nuts. It's great. It's straight out of Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, it is a bit, yeah.
Just a little bit easier to watch. There's musical chairs in there. I love that. He then says to him, I want you to come back to Salzburg with me. No, you've got to do something that's in the room.
Yeah.
And he's just completely missed the point of how serious that is. It's like, I want you to leave all this, come back with me. He's like, man, it's going to be done now. It's going to be in the room. But the way he just starts turning stuff down. Oh, no, that's too easy. What's next? And then it's like, to play Salieri, and he's like, that is a challenge. That is a challenge. And he's just rising to it. He just loves the theatricality of everything that's going on and loves being the centre of attention and loves having the spotlight on him.
Yeah.
But you can tell as well from Salieri, just from his eyes, just the way they're darting around the room from behind that mask. He's raging again. It's a great, great scene. Really, really beautifully shot as well. Like, the production design on this is wonderful. The use of colours in this is incredible. You really buy into it. Great, great scene. Great party.
Yeah. Mozart's dad arrives, Leopold. Absolute misery guts of a man.
He really is.
The most dramatic arrival of a father going to see his son ever. Huge black coat at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
He's like, Batman? But fatherhood's like another theme of the film, and that comes out here. Leopold, this overbearing stage dad who pushed Mozart into music and has been living through him since he was a kid. And Mozart kind of rebels against it by being outrageous, which his dad hates.
Yeah.
And man Salieri is the opposite. His father stopped him playing music and then died, and Salieri spent his whole life trying to prove his father wrong, and God then becomes a kind of proxy for his father. So where Mozart rebels against too much of his dad's attention, Salieri's kind of desperate for some.
Yeah.
And at the masquerade party, there is some great visual storytelling. Leopold's wearing the comedy tragedy mask. Mozart sees the back of Leopold's head, the tragedy side, and thinks, oh no, he's not happy. Then Leopold turns round, smiling, the comedy side, and Mozart laughs, but when he takes the mask off, he's actually frowning. It's quite a funny moment, but also a great way to show us that Mozart can't read his father at all. He wants his father's approval, but has no idea how to get it, and it's all shown in those images. And then Mozart's impression of Salieri. Total humiliation. And obviously sets up Salieri wearing the same mask Leopold wears later to freak Mozart out, which works a treat, as we say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leopold Mozart is played by Roy Dotrice, and he was mostly known as a stage and TV actor at the time, and the film's portrayal of Leopold as domineering is largely accurate. Apparently, he really did try to control his son's career and finances and didn't approve of his marriage to Constanza. And the real painting of Leopold that Mozart has in his apartment is based on a real painting of Leopold Mozart, but being recreated to look like Roy Dotrice.
Yeah. The most judgmental painting I've ever seen, that.
Yeah.
Always looking down on Mozart.
Yeah.
Roy Dotrice is good as Leopold, though, like disapproving father.
Yeah.
I think this film is largely Stanley telling loads of different guys to, like, secure their shit.
Yeah.
Great from Berridge when she gets Leopold told and she's like, I'm sick to death of it. It's great.
Yeah.
Some big moments in the film there then. Salieri discovering more Mozart genius and Mozart trying and failing to impress his father. The rivalry's heating up nicely.
Yep. Even more humiliation. When is this going to stop?
Yeah.
From private humiliations to public triumphs, sort of, we head into The Marriage of Figaro, one of Mozart's great operas. First, we see Count Rosenberg literally removing the ballet from the piece before the Emperor puts it back in, then struggles to stay awake during the performance.
Uh-huh.
Matt, Ready for some imperial meddling?
Always.
Oblige me.
These scenes where it's the removal of the ballet to sabotage Mozart, they're so good because it's worth remembering Salieri is not acting on his own here. They all dislike him, but all want to bring him down.
Yeah.
And they all want to humiliate him. And it looks like, oh, this is how they're going to do it. This is how they're going to win. And it's really funny when after it's been taken out and Mozart goes off in a stroke, he then turns up at Salieri's place and tells him he was so angry he nearly burned the pages, but his wife saved him. And Salieri just goes really sarcastically, thank God. Like with a pretty poker face. And then you have the follow-up with the Emperor, and I think this proves in terms of what the characters believe that God must be on Mozart's side, because why is the Emperor turned up for the rehearsal?
Yeah.
And it obviously looks so ridiculous without the ballet. And it's another really funny line from Jeffrey Jones when he just goes, well, look at them. Like, you can't believe how stupid this looks. And it's very funny. So the ballet is back in. And Mozart just giving that little, like, wink to Salieri because he thinks he helped the decision.
Yeah, yeah.
And Salieri just gives that wave of utter defeat, like, whatever, just get on with it. I'm giving up trying to sabotage you because God is on your side.
Yeah.
Mozart is protected from on high and they can't do anything to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know you're watching a story being told well when a guy ripping pages out of a book feels like the most devastating thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And Rosenberg being impeccably polite while doing it great. Like,
Yeah.
I'm taking out what you should never have put in. And I like how Forman shows us what it looks like on the stage as well. The dancers prancing about in silence. Again, a story about music, but always being told visually.
Yeah.
And in reality, the ballet was never removed from the March of Figaro, but the idea for the scene is rooted in reality. The real Emperor Joseph did give out instructions that forbade ballet and operas unless they were integral to the action.
Yes, though apparently this wasn't anything to do with Marie Antoinette, who the film references. Slightly crowbarred in reference, that.
Just a bit, yeah.
It was because the real Joseph was trying to promote German theatre, so frowned upon ballet, which originated in Italy.
Right. So I'll go to the actual performance of Figaro, which the music here, for a start, is absolutely beautiful. It really is wonderful. But some of the dialogue here is absolutely fantastic. Making my defeat more bitter with every passing bar is so heartbreakingly brutal, but at the same time so defeatist in his attitude. And just that you know that maybe this is the point now where Salieri's just going to stop until the Emperor yawns. And he's back. He's back in the game. Here we go, because he knows the rules of this. Then he says, with that yawn, I saw my defeat turn into a victory. Absolutely brilliant. And then it gets to that point where the composer could still get 9, and it just cuts back. It's just another great moment where I just said, how long is this humiliation going to last? It's Salieri saying Mozart humiliated. I know he's going to be, and he's looking forward to it. But the actual performance of Figaro, I think, is just beautifully staged. Music is unbelievable. And there's just this real element of heartbreak. And then this element of, actually, I feel quite good for Salieri. No, I don't. I'm so conflicted. And that's the point of the film where you start wondering who to fight for a little bit and where it's going. So it's a great middle of the film where it twists itself around.
Yeah, the Marriage of Figaro, like Mozart at his best, one of the most famous operas ever. Salieri can't believe the brilliance of what he's saying.
Yeah.
And the Emperor just wants to go to bed. Too many demands on the royal ear.
Yeah.
But what we get straight after this, which I think we do need, is we finally see Salieri in action with his opera.
Yeah.
Axer, King of Ormus, it's called. And not that I know anything about opera, but I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And the Emperor bloody loves it. Can't get enough. The greatest opera yet written, my friends. And there's a Singing in the Rain reference here, if you've noticed.
Is there?
So the Emperor tells Salieri he's the brightest star in our musical firmament.
Right.
In Singing in the Rain, Lina Lamont calls herself a shimmering, glowing star in the cinema firmament.
Right, okay.
That's too close. It can't be a coincidence, surely.
Yeah, for the use of the word firmament, I think, gives it away there.
But Mozart's feedback, not just a genius composer, he's a master of the backhanded compliment as well. I never knew music like that was possible. What can you say but Salieri? You might as well have just went, it was shit, mate, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's around this time when Salieri sends the maid Laurel to work at Mozart's apartment so she can report back to Salieri. And she wasn't in the original play. She was added for the film and played by Cynthia Nixon, who would later become famous for playing Miranda Hobbs in Sex and the City.
That's right,
She was only 17 at the time and still at school. So her parents had her written into a contract that if she didn't shoot for 2 days in a row, she'd be sent home, and Forman agreed to those terms.
Right.
Yeah. Nice addition as a character, though, I think, isn't she?
I think she's fantastic as well. Great
I think she's
performance.
really
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
She doesn't have loads
Yeah.
to do, but I think she's really good. She's got the acting talent, clearly. So, no surprise she went on to be successful.
Yeah.
Must have been some school report as well. I've been in Prague shooting that film that won the Oscars.
Yeah, work experience.
And that's the middle of Amadeus. We've seen Salieri discover further depths to Mozart's genius and his own hatred of him, and the pieces are in place for a tragic final act. Before that, though, should we talk about some of the other talents behind the production?
No, absolutely.
Let's do it.
The crew.
Milos Forman worked with a talented crew on Amadeus, and it's time to discuss some of those people now.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about the music by Mozart himself and Miroslav Ondřiček's work as director of photography. But first, let's discuss the screenwriter.
Yep.
So Amadeus was written by Peter Schäfer, adapting his own Tony Award-winning play. This wasn't Schäfer's first rodeo in film. He'd previously adapted another of his own plays, Equus, in 1977, but Amadeus would become his most successful screen work. Peter Schäfer's writing here, Matt. How is it?
I think the writing on this goes way beyond what you'd expect from a biopic, and there's so much depth to it. It does sound superficial to say it, but the main theme is jealousy, but I've never seen jealousy examined in so much detail.
No?
In such a twist to it, because Salieri's jealousy exists on different levels. It would be one thing to be jealous of the music, but for the music to come from this man,
Yeah.
it's 1,000 times worse. And I think that's what really eats Salieri up inside, is that this rivalry is entirely one-sided. Like we've been saying, until his death, Mozart has no idea of Salieri's true feelings about him.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it's easier to deal with being jealous of someone if there's a mutual dislike, because there's kind of a release to that. You go like, I know that guy hates me, and I'm kind of glad he hates me because I hate him. But here, there's no release for Salieri, not even when Mozart dies, because it's still eating away at him. That even in death, Mozart has more fear and more adoration than he ever will. And then this all calls into question Salieri's faith and relationship with God, and how that twists and sours, and all because he just can't accept this one man is better than him.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the themes explored in the writing. Like, I haven't even touched on the idea of art, and is it a good idea or not to venerate artists, because you could say this whole film is like one long examination of this is why you shouldn't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
There's just so much you can pick out of this in terms of the writing.
Yeah.
There is. I mean, going into this film for the first time, I think anyone's going to be expecting the music to be great. They wouldn't be making the film if it wasn't. You'd probably be expecting the direction to be of a certain level. Milos Forman was already an Oscar winner, but I'm not sure anybody could have been reasonably expecting the writing to be as good as it is.
No.
We've talked about quite a lot of it already, telling the story through the eyes of Salieri, not Mozart, to let us see what genius looks like to everybody else is inspired. The amount of themes it explores to a level deep enough to be interesting is ridiculous. The notion of genius and how much of it's nurture versus nature, the idea of religion and God being unjust, envy, obsession, even more modern themes like whether we should separate the art from the artist. That's here as well.
Yeah.
So it's pretty impressive. But what I want to touch on a bit more is the narrative structure, because I think the decisions Schäfer's made and how to tell the story are really interesting. I mean, coming at this, huge biopic, even if you have a passion for Mozart like Peter Schäfer did, where do you start?
Yeah.
What do you leave out? And he leaves out a lot. Obviously, you have to. But his way of structuring the narrative is incredible to me. I feel like he's gone, right, what major events have to be in a Mozart film? Marriage of Figaro, obviously. Don Giovanni, the magic flute, obviously. His death. His life as the childhood prodigy. There's more. And all these kind of mini stories form the spine of the narrative, and then Schäfer weaves all the important relationships of Mozart's life in and out of those events. So the rivalry with Salieri, the love story with Stanzi, his father, it turns it into this incredible narrative like tapestry. And then when they ramp it up further by using these relationships to explore themes like the ones I just mentioned, I think it's a stunning piece of screenwriting. Forman takes Schäfer's script and makes it cinematic as hell, like we've been talking about. But what Schäfer gave him to work with, I think, is the kind of script that talented directors dream of getting their hands on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had some great adapted screenplays over the decades. We've talked about some of them like The Godfather or Casablanca, Chinatown spring to mind.
Yeah.
And Amadeus is in that bracket to me. I think the writing is that good.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I think this is just a very thorough piece of work, and I think it arrived fully formed. And Milos Forman just looked at it and thought, right, I can see where this is going to cut. I see what I can use narratively. I can see what I can use visually. But I think all of the emotions here, the writing of Mozart could have been overplayed. It could have been on the nose. There could have been a lot of themes that were just pushed a little bit too far. But I think everything kind of lands where it needs to land to make it an accessible piece of work, like the whole film is.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely would have been on the page. Maybe a different director could have looked at this and made it a little bit more brash and made it a little bit more hard-hitting or made it a little bit more depressing in places, because it does go there, like you said at the top, John. It's really dark in themes.
Yeah.
And especially everything that Mozart goes through. But I think in the writing, it does keep it quite light, but at the same time, quite accessible. It's only when you think about it later, it's like one of them great novels you read and you realise how flawed a character is, but you don't realise it until you think about it yourself and put yourself in their position.
Yeah.
Which I think is what he does with every character. It makes this film really rewatchable. But I think there's so much weight with these words and so much weight with this dialogue, and it all works together. It's just something I think Peter Shaffer knows inside out.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's put down on the page, but not something that I think he's been authoritarian about. I think it's an incredible blueprint, but one that you don't really have to change much of at all for it to be perfect.
And Shaffer is credited as sole writer, but has publicly said himself that Forman's contribution to the script was substantial. Once Forman came on board as director, Shaffer moved into Forman's farmhouse for 4 months, and he adapted the play into a script that would work for film.
Would you fancy living with Milos Forman for 4 months? Crazy.
Absolutely not.
6 months for me, easy.
No.
Minimum.
Yeah, Forman said that the play was very much written for the stage, so they had no choice but to kind of tear it apart structurally.
Right.
But that's a blessing, really, I think, because it meant just putting it straight into production was never an option. They had to make it more cinematic.
Yeah.
So Forman thought, if we're going to do that, we might as well go all in.
You can see that, yeah.
Yeah, and Shaffer said they agreed immediately about reimagining the play, but that they argued about just about everything else. He said Forman's house became like a torture chamber and they would resolve their differences by listening to Mozart.
Just that corridor outside of Salieri's room. Everyone is chained to the walls. You're not leaving.
Well, yeah, Shaffer said they would sometimes argue all afternoon about changing a scene from the play. They'd agree on what to change and then spend the rest of the evening arguing about who should cook dinner.
Right, amazing.
I mean, these guys were the odd couple by the sounds of it.
Arguing over all the right things.
But some things they did change. In the play, there were two characters called the Venticelli, who represent the Viennese people, and they give lots of the backstory. The play starts with the Venticelli whispering, Salieri, Salieri. And Forman said the film should start with Salieri shouting Mozart, which it obviously does.
Right.
And in the play, Salieri's confession is delivered to the audience. For the film, they added the character Father Vogler.
Right.
A great addition. The priest, I think. Those scenes between Salieri and the priest are way better than they have any right to be, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And the Venticelli, that sounds like a very theatrical kind of writing device, I think. They ditched that for the film entirely, understandably.
Yeah, yeah. The origins of Amadeus start on the stage, like we've been talking about, but not with Peter Shaffer. In 1830, a Russian playwright called Alexander Pushkin wrote a one-act play called Mozart and Salieri. It was inspired by a rumour that had come about after Mozart's death. He'd been poisoned by Antonio Salieri, who was jealous of him. Peter Shaffer just took that and just started running with it, and he did something similar to Pushkin and wrote it in his own play and explored that whole story, which I think really works.
It does. I think Peter Shaffer actually said that he was unaware of the Pushkin play when he was writing Amadeus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right.
It does explore similar themes, but it's totally different as well, narratively, so I'm not sure how much of that was taken from it.
Right, okay.
Then Shaffer's also said he's never seen either the play or the film as a biopic and calls it a fantasia on the theme of Mozart and Salieri. So we've mentioned some moments that were based on or changed from reality already, but some others are. The film opens with Salieri attempting suicide. Salieri did attempt suicide in 1823 and made claims about poisoning Mozart, but he was suffering with dementia at the time.
Right.
Yeah, he retracted those claims later on. And historians say there's no evidence at all that Mozart was poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's actually not known how he died, but it was probably rheumatic fever or strep throat, apparently.
Okay.
But average life expectancy in Europe in the late 18th century was only about 35.
Really?
So it was pretty normal to die at that age. We'd all be goners.
Oh. All in the same grave, though, hopefully.
Yep.
The All the Right Movie's great. All in there.
Yeah, that's it. And the main plot point of the movie is obviously Salieri's jealousy of Mozart and sabotaging his career. But in reality, there's no evidence of anything other than the two of them having a friendly rivalry. And actually, after Mozart died, Salieri even tutored Mozart's son.
Right.
Salieri apparently trained Beethoven too.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, there's your sequel. Jealous of him as well.
I thought you meant Beethoven 2. There's your sequel.
The dog.
Just training the dog how to play the piano.
So Pushkin did basically ruin Salieri's reputation. I'm not sure where it came from, but there's a saying I came across a few times in research. Salieri didn't murder Mozart, but Pushkin for sure murdered Salieri.
Right, okay. That's a great quote, yeah.
Nice, right. And in the movie, Salieri is portrayed as celibate as a way to thank God for his gifts. But in real life, Salieri was married to Therese Heiferstorfer, fathered 8 children, and apparently had a well-known affair with Caterina Cavalieri.
Right.
What was that? He had at least one mistress too, apparently. So, far from a celibate, doing like rabbits.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And also in real life, Salieri did not commission Mozart to write his Requiem Mass in D minor, as he does in the film. It was commissioned by an Austrian called Count Franz von Walsegg, though he did commission the work anonymously and try to pass it off as his own work when Mozart died, as Salieri was planning to do.
Outrageous.
Yeah, terrible. Walsegg.
And Salieri didn't pretend to be Mozart's dead father either, thankfully.
Not right.
That's normal behaviour, isn't it?
Not at all.
No. And even the name of the film was largely fabricated. Mozart's real name was Johannes Christomus Wolfgangus Theophilus Mozart.
Mouthful.
He would often sign off letters using Amadeus, the French version of Theophilus, and after his death, Amadeus became the standard in popular culture.
Right.
Yeah, so Amadeus does mean loved by God, which, given the themes of the film, it's a pretty perfect title, I think.
Yeah.
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 Before we finish off on the screenplay, we have our second ATRM Patreon question. This time it's from Stuart McDean.
Hello, Stuart.
So Stuart is keeping it simple. I'm glad somebody is.
Yeah, it's about time.
Something simple about
He
this.
wants to know, what are your favourite play-to-movie adaptations? What do you think, Matt? Any stage-to-screen faves for you?
Yeah, I mean, you can never go wrong with a good Shakespeare adaptation.
Highbrow.
Highbrow for me, always highbrow. If I was to pick just one though, I'd go Ran, which is the Kurosawa film where he adapts King Lear.
Nice.
Which is just incredible. Really incredible. I think a lot of people maybe don't realise that The Odd Couple was a stage play
All right.
because they just think of Levin and Matthau.
Neil Simon, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Neil Simon, yeah, but it works so well. And obviously, classic comedy. And then last one I'm going to mention is Moonlight, the Barry Jenkins film. Again, I think a lot of people don't
Oh, yeah.
realise that started off as a stage play as well, and that's just a beautiful film.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film, yeah.
Yeah, I think 12 Angry Men is maybe the gold standard for many.
Yeah.
Sidney Lumet took the Reginald Rose play that's essentially 12 guys sitting around a table and somehow made it riveting cinema.
Yeah.
Great film.
It is great fun.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? You know that great one? Mike Nichols directs that one based on Edward Albee's play. And it's cinematic,
Yep.
but does still feel quite theatrical. But Liz Taylor's brilliant in that.
Oh, she's unbelievable in that, yeah.
Tearing chunks out of Richard Burton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, art imitates life.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And a more modern one, I liked Fences, if you saw that.
Oh, yeah, Denzel.
Great.
Directed by Denzel Washington, starring him and Viola Davis.
Viola Davis is unbelievable in that.
Yeah,
She overshadows him, I think, in that film.
I think she probably does.
It's unbelievable.
I think the key with any great play adaptation is they never just film the play, they reimagine it for the different medium, and Amadeus does that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Shakespeare again, but one I've mentioned recently, and Tragedy of Macbeth, I think was absolutely wonderful.
Oh, nice.
Really well adapted.
Yep.
West Side Story, for me.
Of course, Romeo and Juliet, isn't it?
It is, yeah, but it's just the way that that's played out is just so, so good. And a little film that people don't really talk about, and I think it's Philip Seymour Hoffman's, well, one of his best performances, but I mean, that's not hard, he's amazing in everything, but a film called Doubt,
Oh,
which I thought was
yeah.
absolutely fantastic, which is based on a stage play, but yeah, them three for me, absolutely great.
Lovely. Well, for his work adapting Amadeus for the screen, Peter Shaffer was nominated for, and won, Best Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars. Thoroughly deserved, I'd say, obviously.
Yeah, well, you would say. But I do agree, yes.
From the writing to the music, and I think this might be the first time we've covered a composer who's been dead for 2.5 centuries.
It definitely is.
Yes.
So the music in Amadeus is, of course, written by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart himself, not by Falco, as some may think.
Nope.
Sadly.
So, Matt, I remember you saying you were intimidated by Blade Runner 2049.
Yep.
So, God knows how you're going to feel about this question, but What do you think of the work of Mozart?
But there you go. Just say it out loud. How good is Mozart's music? Like I say, I can't pretend I'm a fan in the sense that I stick some Mozart on of an evening and sit and listen to it. I don't. But I'm also not stupid enough to dismiss the brilliance of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can recognise that. So it's not a case of saying, oh, this track is brilliant and this one is brilliant because they all are. It's how it's used. The music is seen either in performance in the opera scenes, or it's in the characters' heads as they would come together, or it's over the top of the action, and it just knits everything together. And you need this amount of music because it's about the obsession that Mozart and Salieri have themselves over music. If the music was only ever heard in the performances in the opera scenes, it wouldn't have anywhere near the impact that it does. It has to be a character in its own right, and it absolutely is in this.
I agree, yeah. I mean, the music's enormous. Salieri's right, it is like a gift from God. It's lived for centuries after the guy who wrote it died. It'll probably live forever, so it's kind of as extraordinary as you'd expect it to be.
Yeah.
So Forman didn't have to do anything. He could have just got some nice period cinematography, slapped some Mozart on top, and it would have done the work for him.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do that. It's how the music's used that impresses me most in the whole film, probably.
Yeah.
The music is, like you're saying, Matt, it's a character in the film, I think. The melodies are woven into the narrative so perfectly that they tell the story as much as the characters do. And what's impressive is it's a story this music wasn't written to tell. So it's not just an adapted screenplay, it's kind of an adapted score as well. We talked about Salieri describing the serenade for the winds, the like a rusty squeeze box bit, and the way we hear it as he talks. And it's brilliant. But that's not it. The way they use the Requiem all the way through the film's fantastic.
Yeah.
We don't know the narrative importance of it at the start, but it's like this kind of dark cloud hanging over the whole film, getting more intense, and then comes into the film towards the end as part of the narrative, like a character might. It's like Darth Vader in Empire.
It is, yeah.
Half expecting Lando to turn up.
That reminds me of like the entrance of Leopold when he first sees him.
Yeah.
It's got that vibe. Boom! It's sort of, I was like, is that Darth Vader?
Yeah, exactly. Top of the stairs, yeah.
Yeah.
And the music sits above everything else in the film. You've got great production design, costume design, 2 huge lead performances, a great director at the top of his game, and still the music sits above it. High above it. Like the cherry on top of a Belgian bun.
Very nice.
Or as Salieri puts it, it's miraculous.
Yeah.
Although he would also love a Belgian bun, Salieri.
Or a nipple cake or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, as a biopic of Mozart, you could tell the story more accurately, for sure.
Yeah.
But as a showcase of Mozart's music, don't even bother.
Yeah.
These guys have done it,
Yeah.
and you're not topping it.
It's not going to happen, is it?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you guys. I'm not just going to be like, let's go home and stick some Mozart on while I'm cooking the tea. But at the same time, I do realise the relevance of it, the importance of it, and how incredible it is. I mean, the majority of it was written by a teenager, then into his 20s.
Yeah.
You know, and listening to that back, you just think that's absolutely outrageous. But it's mainly what John was saying, it's how it's used.
Yeah.
The film makes the music more accessible, and it makes it easier to decipher and understand it.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Because there is a lot going on. And I think when the audience do hear that music for the first time, they kind of agree with what the Emperor says, and there's too many notes, because it is too hard to get. Then you just then spend the rest of the film understanding how it's not, and understanding how maybe your view on it is a little bit dumbed down, and how if you just relax and listen to it, it's there, and there's all of these emotions and everything involved in it. And it really, really works when you put it in a visual form, which I think is what Milos Forman does. He makes the music visual.
Yeah.
Even one Mozart track. I call it a track. I don't even know if that's what you're supposed to call it. But one Mozart, piece of music. So, right, you've got to put that into a film and make it into a character, and it's got to address all of the emotions on the screen at the same time. And you just think, how on earth am I going to do that? How does that work? But it is kind of softened in the film, and it is brought to that level of almost like a brilliant soundtrack. Mozart's music. How do you even start? What's his difficult third album? Where do you come in with it? Again, a consistency to everything in this film, and the music set the tone for everything, and it had to be as good as the music is, and I think it might just be.
And Forman knew he wanted Mozart's music to play a bigger role than it did in the stage play. So Saul Zaentz asked all of his contacts to recommend a music supervisor based on what they were doing. And there was one name appeared on every list, Sir Neville Marriner, who was known for being one of the world's greatest conductors. Forman and Zaentz met him in an airport, and he said he would do it on one condition, that not one note of Mozart's music was changed for the film.
Brilliant. But that's it kind of right there, I think. The film might get criticised about historical accuracy around the characters, but I don't think that's what Forman and Schaeffer are massively concerned with.
No.
They made the decision that it's about Mozart's music, and that they are extremely honest and accurate with.
Yes.
Yeah. And Mariner recorded all of the music for the film before production started. It was recorded by the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields, an orchestra founded by Mariner, and they recorded it at Abbey Road Studios.
Wow.
Should have got Ringo in on percussion. He'll have been hanging around probably.
Might have done, we couldn't hear him. Too many hi-hats.
And the decision to record the music in full first is inspired. That's how Forman can weave it in so well. He knew exactly what he was working with.
Yeah.
There's a few times where we'll hear a piece diegetically, as in the world, and then immediately afterwards hear it non-diegetically on the score or vice versa.
Yeah.
It's so intentional, so planned, so creative the way they've used the music all the way through. I love it.
Yeah. When Forman adapted the musical Hair, his choreographer had been Twyla Tharp, and he asked her to choreograph all of the opera performances in Amadeus. She moved to Prague for a year and was responsible for the choreography of Abduction from the Seraglio, The Marriage of Figaro, Don Giovanni, and The Magic Flute. That's, yeah.
Yeah, I know that she did lots of research into 18th century opera performances and then adapted them to make them more accessible for modern audiences.
That's quite an undertaking, that in a year, though, isn't it?
Just a bit, yeah.
Yeah, good grief.
I'm not sure they've compromised too much. It still feels really authentic.
Yeah, massively.
I mean, not that I know too much about 18th century opera, obviously.
I'd still be doing it now. I think I might just have The Marriage of Figaro down the first maybe 3 bars.
Yeah.
And even more authentic was the filming locations for the opera sequences. The Abduction from the Seraglio, The Marriage of Figaro, and Don Giovanni performances were all filmed at the Till Theatre in Prague, and this is a historically preserved building and where Mozart really performed Don Giovanni for the first time in 1787.
Wow.
Twyla Tharp said the theatre had been pretty much untouched since it was built in 1783, so it basically looks how it would have when Mozart played there.
Wow. I mean, yeah, Forman said that when they first got to the Till Theatre, Peter Schaeffer went missing, and they found him sitting in a corridor sobbing. He was overwhelmed by being in the same place Mozart had premiered Don Giovanni.
Wow. Understandable, really.
Like me when I went to the Cavern Club for the first time. Sobbing in the corner.
And when they filmed the Don Giovanni performance, they had performers on stage carrying real fire, and Patricia von Brandenstein said before they filmed it, she had nightmares about burning the place down. So they therefore had 40 firemen on standby in case anything went wrong. And she said, I thought God will truly punish me if this place catches on fire.
Right.
Sounds like Salieri. God-fearing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, when they were filming Don Giovanni, the actor playing Don Giovanni is wearing a plumed hat, if you remember.
Yeah.
And he accidentally set the light on a candle. And apparently the firemen just stood there waving rather than rushing on the stage because they were so scared of annoying Forman.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like the Michael Jackson Pepsi commercial.
Yeah, exactly. His hat's on fire, Milos.
Your hair's on fire, bro.
No Oscar for Mozart for his music on the film. He was 200 years too early for that.
Yeah.
But the winner of Best Original Score that year was Maurice Jarre for A Passage to India. Mm-hmm. And during his acceptance speech, he said, luckily for me, Mozart was not eligible.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
Nice.
And the musical work here, not just Mozart, but Neville Mariner, Twyla Tharp, and how Forman used it. Mm-hmm. It's pretty impressive.
It's really impressive, yeah.
Perfect.
A collaborator who was with Forman for the long haul was Amadeus director of photography, Miroslav Ondřiček. Starting with Forman's Czech films in the 1960s, this was their 6th collaboration, following on from Hair and Ragtime. Mm-hmm. Check him out, Westy.
Yeah, check it out.
How was Miroslav Ondřiček's work here as DP?
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic work in that it's just so nicely framed that it's not confusing. You could watch this film on fast forward, and it's incredible how many of the characters are just in the centre of the frame. It's very rare he uses the rule of thirds to confuse anybody. This is well before, we have to shoot now and everything has to be centre frame because it needs to be an upright for social media.
Oh, right, yeah.
So you have to crop into the middle of the frame, so you have stuff left and right that you don't really do as much.
Yeah.
Where Barry Lyndon's very much rule of thirds.
Right.
This is right in the middle, which is hard to do without it being boring and samey, but it really works. Let's just see one of the earlier scenes where Mozart comes in and he plays the march. Mozart's in the middle of the frame as he's playing it. Cuts to Salieri, he's in the middle of the frame, cuts back. You don't get anyone else's reactions. It's just about them two characters, which it always works. He's conducting an orchestra And you know that frame that everybody loves, there's that wide angle, but he's right in the middle.
It's a great shot, that, yeah.
There's no convergent verticals at all. So that wide angle he's using on that is perfect because it doesn't make the theatre come in on top of Mozart. It makes it seem as he's just fits perfectly within the frame of it.
Yeah.
Everything's so considered and very well thought through. And I think that makes it really accessible and it makes it really, really fun. It's a fun film to watch because it moves from scene to scene, and it's a film that definitely moves from left to right because every character is in the middle of that frame. If you want to see anything else in the frame, have at it. You can see it. There's a lot more going on. But I think his lens choice, his camera movements aren't over the top. I don't think the lighting's over the top for the period. The whole film could have been way darker. But I think the tone is consistent with the colour palette, with the lighting, with the dialogue, with the music. Everything seems to be of a standard, and he really ticks the boxes for me.
Yeah, I agree, Westy. I think they can see an influence from Barry Lyndon.
Yeah.
There's always a warm glow of candlelight, the way that shadow plays on people's faces, like the textures of the costumes and the locations. It's quite painterly, like Barry Lyndon, and feels of the time, but still feels relevant as well.
There's a distinct lack of shadow in this, I think, is really important.
Yeah. With Schaeffer, I mean, Mozart, the cast, Twilight Thorpe, everything else, Forman's directing loads of storytellers at once, and the camera tells a story as well.
Yeah.
There's a shot really early that I love. After Mozart realises the start of the concert without him, when he's like, my music.
Yeah.
He runs towards the concert hall. The camera's already there and doesn't move, so we just see him come sprinting down the corridor towards us. I love that shot.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
The opera sequences are great. Not just the music and the choreography, they're really well shot as well. They're so cinematic. Performances from over 200 years ago, but it doesn't really feel it. It feels quite timeless to look at.
Yeah.
I mean, I think something that's clear as day when you watch the end result is how in sync everyone is.
Yeah.
No one's working in silos.
No.
You know that Ondřeček worked closely with Twilight Thorpe. You know he's worked with Patricia von Brandenstein on production design. You can tell he's worked with Theodor Pistek on costume design. They must have, because it's all so perfectly cohesive. It's kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the great examples of just great filmmaking for me, and the cinematography is a big part of it.
Yeah, massively. It just reminded me of that shot you talked about there, John, when he's running into the frame.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the first thing he says, they've started without me. So he has to run into the frame.
Yeah.
So they're not moving the camera to be with him. So
Yeah.
even the cinematography's telling the same story. It's not intentionally humorous, but that's really funny and nerdy. I love that.
No, yeah, you're right. It's brilliant. He runs into the film, doesn't he?
He does, exactly, yeah.
Part of the reason it feels so cinematic, because I think one aspect that's very easy to overlook is how much of this film is set indoors. Like, after you have that opening of Salieri being wheeled to hospital, I'm always slightly taken aback when we get another scene that occurs outside. And I think the risk of that is that the film could end up looking very samey, very drab, particularly when there's not even that much variation of the interior locations. It's the opera houses or the palace or Mozart's place or Salieri's place. Every location has this grandeur to it, but it never feels repetitive. I never feel like, oh, just looking at the same shot again.
Yeah.
I never feel, oh, it's this setting again. Can we not go somewhere different? I'm never bored by how this looks visually. And like, say, a film, maybe 90% of it indoors in places very similar. It's very subtle work as well in that. You think of Amadeus, I don't think the first thing that comes to mind is, wow, it's a visual feast for the eyes. But you get into like the granular details of it. You really think about what you've seen and how they've done it. You think, yeah, actually, it's just all the more impressive for what they do here.
Yeah.
There's just so much to look at, isn't there? Whether it's the cinematography or the costumes or the production design or the locations, it is kind of a feast for the eyes.
And nothing overshadows anything else. It's amazing that it all just works together. Cogs in the machine.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And most of the film used conventional lighting setups. But for the opera performances, the crew used candlelight almost exclusively for authenticity, and over 27,000 candles were burned during production.
No wonder they're worried about burning the place down then.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And you know more than me, Westy, but that seems like insanity in terms of the challenge you're setting yourself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's outrageous. Just the fact that that light moves as well. It's got a natural movement to it, so you can't judge it exactly where it's going to be or where it's going to land or what it's going to hit, so you just have to light and then light and then light again. And I think it was after this film came out that they actually made cinema candles, which had about 4 or 5 wicks that were just put together to make it burn brighter.
Oh, really?
So that it would be easier for the film to pick up, so easier to expose. But yeah, that explains why there's so many in this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Well, for his work on Amadeus, Miroslav Ondřeček was nominated for Best Cinematographer at the Oscars, but he lost out to Chris Menges for The Killing Fields.
Right, yeah.
Right, okay.
For us, though, some great cinematography that brings 18th century Vienna to life.
Yeah, brings the whole film to life, yeah. Really works.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our key crew members. Peter Schaefer crafting a brilliant adaptation of his own play, Mozart himself providing the divine music, and Miroslav Ondřiček capturing it all with candlelight and cameras. And in Neville Mariner, Twyla Thorpe, and all the other craftspeople we've mentioned, a crew operating at the peak of their powers here.
Definitely.
The end.
The second act of Amadeus was bold, breathtaking. The third is astounding. We're going to talk about the climactic scenes where Mozart and Salieri write the Requiem together and Mozart's death. But first, we've got a magic flute to talk about.
We do.
So with Mozart's fortunes and mental state declining, he finds work with Emanuel Schikaneder's Vaudeville Theatre writing the magic flute for the common people. Meanwhile, Salieri carried out his latest scheme, commissioning a Requiem from Wolfi while disguised as a masked figure.
Yeah.
Totally normal behaviour.
Yeah.
Westy, ready for some lowbrow entertainment?
Absolutely. You know me. Love this. I much prefer it, actually, if I'm honest.
Well, the Vaudeville Don Giovanni.
Yeah, I mean, I never get tired of sausages coming out of a horse's arse, let's be honest. And then later a dove and then some champagne. It's fine. But I just think it's really good. And what is shown here is the contrast between how little Mozart cares about how pretentious something is.
Yeah.
Because all the pretentiousness is removed. He just wants people to enjoy what he's written. And Stanzi kind of knows it's a piss take.
Oh, Stanzi hates it, yeah.
But again, it just shows that he is just a big kid, really. And he just loves it just as much as when he's conducting. He just loves to see it come to life, no matter how that's done. So it just shows he's part of the audience as well as he's part of the creation. Which I think, if you can really appreciate your own art, you're really onto something. But it's when someone takes it and spins it their own way and makes it fun and enjoyable. And if your kids love it, you're going to love it. I think it's a great scene. I love this. It's crazy. Coming out the ceiling and it's all great.
Yeah, when it first cuts to the Vaudeville Theatre, it does feel quite jarring, in a good way, because we're used to these high-end Imperial productions till now, and then this is all sing-alongs and laughs.
Brilliant.
Like Chaz and Dave.
Strange comparison.
Nice to see the other side of Viennese society as well. Builds the world up and tells us that Mozart, unlike Salieri, is more of a man of the people, I think.
Yeah.
But from the film's perspective, the production values don't drop an inch. It still looks brilliant.
It does.
The costume design, the theatre itself, they've got hundreds of extras.
Yeah.
Keeps the authenticity totally intact. And narratively, it's all developing really well. Mozart's deterioration is shown in his appearance. He's now wearing that dirty brown wig.
Yeah.
And they must have done some makeup work on Tom Hulce as well, because he's suddenly got really hollow eyes. Looks like death warmed up. So all really good. And did you notice the Star Wars link here?
Yes.
So the commendatoria character, the little person who comes on the stage on the horse singing Don Giovanni, that is...
Go for it.
Kenny Baker.
There is.
R2D2.
Loved seeing Kenny Baker in there. It's fantastic stuff.
Anthony Daniels would have been furious. I should be in the Mozart film.
Yeah, he should have been conducting, just like C-3PO.
And Emanuel Schikaneder is played by Simon Callow, who was the first person to play Mozart on stage at the National Theatre in 1979, and that's how he came to Forman's attention for the part. The real Schikaneder was a German actor, singer and theatre manager. He wrote the libretto for the Magic Flute and played Papageno at the premiere, like he does in the film. And according to historians, the real Schikaneder was as larger-than-life and flamboyant as we see him here, but there's no records of him really putting on a parody of Don Giovanni.
Yeah, he did start as Mozart, Simon Callow, and Callow said that Forman told him his portrayal of Mozart was truly brilliant, fantastic, an asshole and a genius, funny, tragic, crazy, a baby and a god.
Wow.
Still not casting you though. Schikaneder for you.
Yeah.
I think he's good though, Simon Callow. Really memorable character because he does play a part in the narrative.
He is.
And I believe Callow in the role. I mean, he's a bit boisterous.
Yeah, I totally get that though. He needs to be, but he doesn't overshadow anything. He's not like massively memorable, but he is when you see him again. Oh, that guy, of course.
And then you get the scene where he confronts Mozart about the Magic Flute. And I just really feel for Mozart here. Like, his dad's died. He thinks he's now being commanded by his dad's ghost to write a Requiem Mass for him. Running out of money, clearly unwell. And now being hassled by this guy to write a vaudeville for him about a Magic Flute.
Yeah.
Like, just give him a break, for God's sake.
Yeah, I love the start of that scene. Schikaneder's banging on the door, and Stanzi comes out and is like, Wolfie, open the door for God's sakes. But he can't hear it because his head's like filled with music.
Yeah.
And then the music cuts and we're suddenly like back in the room, which is another great use of sound.
Yeah.
But that gives us a little insight to what it might be like being in Mozart's head. And it's pretty awful. Mm-hmm. And then sneaks out to another party when Stanley's asleep. What are you doing?
Yeah.
No wonder she leaves.
He's waiting for that moment, isn't he? It's awful when he sneaks out.
Yeah.
And then you get the actual performance of the magic flute.
Yeah.
Which is Mozart's kind of downfall health-wise. But to start the scene, you've got that great transition of Mozart having his ear bent by his mother-in-law to the opera singer giving it full gusto, which is really, really funny.
It's brilliant.
Again, it just shows the brilliance of him to listen to his mother-in-law doing that and going, hang on, I can use this. Automatically, he just translates it to music. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I guess this performance, it does come down to personal taste, but I think there's just this irony with Mozart collapsing during this performance, because I find this music just quite trivial and silly. It's a bit annoying, but this is the one Mozart has driven himself to the point of death performing. Not one of his absolute masterpieces, but I think Abraham is so brilliant in the scene because Mozart collapses. Salieri makes sure he's being taken back to bed, and just when you think this might be his turning point, is he having second thoughts about this plan now that Mozart is nearly dead? He then uses chicanere and ever knocking at the door to push Mozart even further.
Yeah.
And pretend it's the figure.
Yeah.
The ghostly figure that wants that Requiem Mass written. It's the moment he could have redeemed himself, but he chooses not to. And Abraham just dances along that line brilliantly.
He does, yeah. I also love the transition into the magic flute where we go from Stanley's mother yelling at Mozart into the Queen of the Night. It's also funny when Stanley's mother says, I told her, marry him, you won't have a pot to piss in. And the editing of the performance is superb, cutting between Mozart's manic conducting because he's not well, Salieri watching from the shadows, always watching on the sly, Salieri, isn't he, behind a curtain or something.
Yeah.
But if there was a Mozart opera I'd like to see in full, I'd probably go for the Magic Flute.
Oh, really?
Don Giovanni looks way too intense.
Oh, Giovanni for me every time. With Radiohead doing the soundtrack.
Yeah, I'd go say that, to be fair.
Yeah, of course you would. Okay, Don Giovanni, massively. So while Don Giovanni and The Marriage of Figaro were filmed at the Till Theatre, the Don Giovanni parody and the Magic Flute were filmed on the custom set. Prizia von Brandenstein and her team built a replica of an 18th century Volkstheater on Czechoslovakia's biggest soundstage at Barrandov Studios. The replica was 330 feet long, had 700 seats and took 6 weeks to build.
Oof.
Yeah.
Massive. And those candle chandeliers are insane. Have you noticed those on the ceiling? There's 11 of them.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't burn the place down. It's crazy.
It's amazing they didn't call them candeliers. They missed a trick there.
And the actress who we see performing the Queen of the Night is Whitney Houston.
Oh, of course. The Bodyguard. Amazing. Love that. We've got the Bodyguard into a Mozart biopic. I love it.
Yeah, finally. Yeah. No, it was a Czech soprano called Milada Chekhalova. The voice we hear, though, is June Anderson, and she was one of the most famous American sopranos in the world at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, enormous pipes.
Yeah.
The Queen of the Night might be my favourite stage performance in the film. I think it's stunning.
Yeah.
The Papageno bit, though. Chicanada prancing about dressed as a budgie. Pa, 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 pa. It's outrageous.
It reminded me of, what's the song Inside Llewyn Davis? Please, Mr. Kennedy. It's like, pa, 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 please, Mr. Kennedy. It's that bit with the plosives. I was like, that's the same. The Coen brothers have obviously seen this, ripped it off.
So that's the Magic Flute, Mozart's final opera, written for the people, performed as he's dying.
Yeah.
Should we have a look at the fallout?
Let's do it.
The climax of Amadeus brings everything together in devastating fashion.
Uh-huh.
After Mozart's collapse, Salieri takes him home and they work on the Requiem. Salieri taking dictation as Mozart composes from his deathbed.
Yeah.
So, what is the greatest scene of all time, Matt? And why is it this?
I knew it was going to be this. I was going to call it at the start, but I thought it's too obvious. It's amazing.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong, John. I mean, this scene, the back and forth between them, the way they modulate their performances against each other, Mozart just firing out instruction after instruction after instruction.
Yeah.
And it's the reaction from Salieri, like, what? None of this makes sense. How will that even work on the page? And then when you just see it click behind his eyes, like, my God, of course, it's genius. And it seems obvious, but it's only obvious if you're Mozart in that level of brilliance. Mm-hmm. And it's the most humbling moment for Salieri because he can't get there until he sees Mozart doing it and telling him how he does it. And it's the moment where he forgets his plan and he's so swept up in this outpouring and the sheer privilege of being part of it which makes it all the more tragic that it's Mozart's last moment. And Salieri only has this brief glimpse of what their friendship could have been.
Yeah.
If he'd stopped being a little less proud about himself and just kind of reined his own ego in, they could have had the most amazing friendship.
Yeah.
And what this scene reminds me most of all is, you know, in the Peter Jackson Beatles documentary, when you've got that footage of McCartney jamming and he just plucks Get Back out of the air.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, my God, that's genius. You're seeing the birth of genius. That's what this scene is.
Mm-hmm.
What a climax. What we've been building to. Mozart and Salieri together at last.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's also kind of the film in microcosm. I think most of the things that make Amadeus great are here. The culmination of the rivalry is here. We're seeing Mozart's genius in action, and his music kind of showcased in this really inventive and cinematic way. The whole idea of breaking the Requiem down into its main components, seeing Mozart write them one by one, Salieri writing them down, and then giving us the final composition in the score.
Yeah.
Total genius. Take a bow, Milos. I'm in awe of it. It's just such a brilliant representation of not just music, but I think the creative process. We've been told all the way through that Mozart is this genius talent, and natural ability counts for a lot. But there's a science to it as well. Nature versus nature. And we'll see that here. Because Salieri knows his stuff.
Yeah.
Just to take down Mozart's dictation, you've got to have an advanced understanding of music because he's a million miles an hour. If Salieri's mediocre, I think we're all screwed, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very long scene.
Yeah, but it does show Mozart's talent. He can create these complex arrangements in his head, and Salieri can't keep up. I like it when Salieri goes, "It's wonderful, that's it." And Mozart's like, "No, now for the real fire." It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a 100% accurate portrayal of the events, but it is an honest reflection of the music. Mozart obviously didn't really dictate the Requiem to Salieri on his deathbed.
No.
Really dramatic way to go. But in breaking it down, it shows us how complex and incredible the music is. That isn't a lie. Mozart really wrote that.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the history that Forman and Schaeffer want to get across.
Yeah, I mean, G sharp, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's my favourite scene of the whole film. When it came to this point, I thought we need this connection and we need it to slam home, and it's almost like splitting the atom, really. It's been building to this and it does not disappoint. It's when he's just, show me, and then it's using the cuts to time travel almost, and you hear the finished piece and it's just there.
Yeah.
It's the simplicity of how cinematic this is. There's no zooms, it's not going round the bed.
Is it like 2 cameras, maybe? 2 shots?
Probably on 2 cameras, but this could have been done with 1 easily. But
Yeah.
if you know what the dialogue is and how it's delivered. So it's literally just 2 shots centre framed.
Yeah.
And there may be a slight push in on Mozart as he's coming up with things, but not much.
Yeah.
It's literally the content of this scene that makes it shine. You could have shot this on a potato and it still would have been incredible. And there's so many bits in this that click. It's when he starts naming all the different instruments, like the bassoon to the trombones, and then it's the tenors.
Yeah,
but it's when Salieri is not keeping up. And Mozart's just like, come on. And he stops a little bit and he goes, look, it goes with the harmony. Boom, boom.
Great.
But that's when they're in harmony. That's when they catch up with each other. And it was that point where I'm like, I need to see this run out for another 7 or 8 minutes, this scene. I need to see where this goes. And it doesn't disappoint, to be honest. It's not on that long. That's how long I wanted it to be on for. And you know it's a masterpiece. You know what he's doing. And this scene finished, and I watched it for the second time. And as I was watching for the second time, I thought, fuck me, what Mozart could have done with an 8-track.
I know,
If he could just put it down and just record it where he is, even if it was just bumping it and diddling it.
So that's why I often think, what would these guys do if they were around 200 years later?
Yeah, if they were around now and they just had access to everything we've got access to, there's no excuse for us, really. We're just lazy. There's no talent left anywhere in the world. You just make excuses like, me laptop's not fast enough. No, you're just not Mozart enough. That's the problem. And I think that's the genius of this, is how simple it seems, but at the same time, how powerful it is in the content of the scene, and it really works.
It does. It's a fantastic scene.
Yeah.
But before they filmed the scene, Tom Hulce said that Neville Marriner and one of his musicians acted out the scene to show Hulce and Abraham how 2 musicians would actually dictate music like this to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hulce said it was rubbish, and then showed them how not to do it.
Rubbish that.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it might be a bit dull watching that for real. Unless they do get Ringo in, obviously, that would be great.
Obviously.
And then when they filmed the scene, Hulce and Abraham were both wearing earpieces that the pieces of music were played through. So that's why Mozart and Salieri are perfectly in time and in pitch with the music as the singers.
I loved that when I read that. I was like, that's genius.
It is brilliant.
And you would never have thought about it because this film is so authentic. The last thing you think of is any kind of technology that's going to help them. You don't put that in the mix, do you, at all?
Because he's singing along with the music as we hear it, and he's in the same key as it as well.
You just think, oh, that's amazing. Not like they could have an earpiece. Of course they can have an earpiece.
That's the only way to do it, isn't it? You don't really think about it.
Yeah.
And the music coordinator on the film was John Strauss. And at one point, he skewed the music going into Hulce's ear, and we see that take in the film.
Yes, it's a bit right at the start where Mozart goes A minor, A minor. Hulce was waiting for the music to play.
Right, nice.
Right.
Yeah, it's even better when he's trying to just bring it to the foreground of maybe I was thinking of something else.
That's how it feels, yeah.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, Abraham said that Hulce would deliberately change the lines from the script or skip certain bits. Abraham thought that he was forgetting his lines, but Hulce was actually trying to confuse him. And we see this in the film in the moments where Salieri is struggling to keep up with Mozart.
Nice.
Yeah, obviously the music's what you think of in the scene, and it's fantastic. But those back and forths inject loads of drama into it, where Mozart's like, do you have it? Do you have it?
Yeah, yeah.
One moment, please. That stuff's so good.
Yeah.
It's that please is so genuine as well.
Really polite still.
Please, let us get this.
We're not done just yet, though. After Stanley turns up and gives Salieri a final piece of her mind, we see Mozart's funeral and then one final scene with old Salieri in the hospital. A good way to finish, do we think?
Probably the only way to finish at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Like a pauper's mass grave, that's all he gets. The priest barely putting any effort into it.
Yeah.
Where's the justice for this man and the genius he gave to the world? And the absolute kicker is that Salieri doesn't even get to claim that Requiem Mass for his own. He's put all this effort in, expanded so much of his own creative energy on hatred and jealousy, and he's achieved absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And when we go back to the confession, it's just the final underlying point. Mozart has triumphed over him even in death, and God has rejected Salieri one final time. And all he has, as he says, is the knowledge that he is the patron saint of mediocrities.
Yeah.
What an ending.
Oh,
Yeah, it brings us full circle, back to old Salieri in the asylum, and works so well. The way that we cut from the funeral on the big amen of the death mass back to the priest, and he's head down, sweating, totally done in by everything he's heard. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Surely he wasn't expecting to be there all night. He thought he'd be in and out in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Salieri wouldn't shut up.
The transition from when he first comes into that part, if you put them scenes together, that would be incredible. Just a smash cut to just... Oh.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's so harrowing, but it's so humbling at the same time. It points home that not everybody thought as highly of Mozart as Salieri did.
Yeah.
He thought it was going to be angels on top of castles just playing this requiem to the whole world, and it isn't. He didn't have him in such high regard, and that's a tragedy because he's the only one who saw him godlike. And I think it's just incredible when it goes back to the older version of him. That is his confession. That is what he did. And he did kill him in a way because he kind of killed him through his own obsession.
Well, yeah, that's what it kind of means, I think, by the end, isn't it?
And exactly. And he's 32 years of torture. That's what he's left with.
His delivery of that bit is so good as well.
It's amazing. My music grows fainter. It's just an absolute lesson to walk away from this film and just think, appreciate what you have got and don't wish for what you haven't got. It's a life wasted.
Amen.
Yep.
There's your real death mass from Westy.
There you go, as always. And the film fades to black with us hearing one last version of Mozart's laugh. This wasn't scripted, and Forman realised he wanted it during editing. So they brought Hulce back, and it was 9 months later after filming had wrapped, and he wasn't able to do the laugh anymore.
Wow.
Until Forman gave him some whiskey. Straight back in.
Yeah, the music that plays over the final sequence into the end credits, Piano Concerto number 20 it's called.
Right.
Stunning, that.
Yeah, it's unreal.
And the final shot, we're looking at Salieri and listening to Mozart.
Yeah.
Pretty perfect way to end, I think.
Brilliant.
And that is the end of Amadeus. From the magic flute through the deathbed requiem to that final absolution, Mozart is gone, though his music isn't. And a final act worthy of that music.
Oh, unbelievable, yeah.
Certainly.
Reception and awards.
So that is the story of Amadeus, and it opened in cinemas on September the 19th, 1984. How did it do on its release? Well, our own statistical maestro is here to tell us. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Nice.
So, from the top, please, Matt.
Okay, so production budget was $18 million and Amadeus grossed $90 million worldwide. And that's even more impressive considering it only opened in 25 theatres and didn't have a wide release until months later.
Yeah.
And it did amazingly well at the Oscars that year, nominated for 11 and winning 8. Saul Zaentz won for Best Picture, Milos Forman won for Best Director, F. Murray Abraham won Best Actor, Peter Schaefer won for Best Adapted Screenplay, Patrizia von Brandenstein and Carol Cerny won for Best Art Direction, Theodore Pistek won for Best Costume Design, Mark Berger, Thomas Scott, Todd Bokelheide and Christopher Newman won Best Sound, and Paul LeBlanc and Dick Smith won Best Makeup.
Oof, that's a lot of wins.
There's a lot of wins.
A lot.
The Best Picture was presented by Laurence Olivier, who was about 77 at the time, and he forgot to mention all the nominees. He basically got up and went, Amadeus. So Saul Zaentz then listed all the other nominees during his acceptance speech, which, nice touch.
Oh, nice.
Right, nice.
Didn't mention Creedence, though.
Would forget about the Creedence. Yeah, Orion Pictures promoted the film by putting together a music video for Mozart's Symphony number 25 in G minor. It featured David Lee Roth as a conductor and was cut together using clips from the movie and footage of big pop stars at the time like Madonna, Springsteen, Bowie, Michael Jackson, as if they were kind of dancing along to the track itself, which is great. I've never seen that. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it's quite fun, yeah. It's the music that opens the film.
Yeah.
It's that piece of music.
I thought it must be, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed to work. The soundtrack album for Amadeus sold over 6.5 million copies.
That'll do.
And it was the first classical recording to chart alongside pop albums in the US.
Right.
And, of course, Rock Me Amadeus by Falco went to number 1 in 1985.
Did, yeah.
The only German language song to ever get the number 1 in America.
Wow.
Mainly because it's a total banger.
Well, of course, yeah.
It is, yeah.
No Hasselhoff in there.
Onto the critics, and we'll start, as we usually do, with Roger Ebert.
Mm-hmm.
What did Big Rog make of Amadeus, do we think?
I reckon he loved it.
Oh,
yeah,
big four.
full marks.
Easily.
Of course, it was 4 stars out of 4 from Roger.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
He said, Amadeus is one of the riskiest gambles a filmmaker has taken in a long time. There's nothing cheap or unworthy about the approach. A magnificent film, full and tender, and funny and charming.
Mm-hmm.
It was risky for Forman and Saul Zaentz to pay for it all.
Yeah, yeah.
Via Creedence, obviously.
Obviously.
Pauline Kael of The New Yorker was less impressed and said, Milos Forman trudges through the movie as if every step were a major contribution to art, and he keeps the audience hooked by showing you Mozart as a rubber-faced buffoon with a randy mind, as if that were all there was to him. There's nothing but confusion at the heart of the movie.
Oh, really? Wow, that's a very confused and strange take.
Rubber-faced grinning buffoon.
Jim Carrey.
Exactly. I mean, yes, but I think Mozart would love that.
Yeah, you would have, yeah.
Yeah.
And full marks from Empire magazine. In a retrospective review, Ian Nathan gave the film 5 stars out of 5 and said, a towering achievement. The film, so magnificent and ornate, is posing very human conflict on a grand scale. Self-aware mediocrity versus blind talent, liberated creativity versus the establishment. Forman's period piece is worth every second it demands of you. The music's pretty good too.
Yeah, agreed.
The music is pretty good.
Yes, it is. And today on Rotten Tomatoes, Amadeus has a critics' approval rating of 90% and 95% from audiences. And then on IMDb, it currently sits with a rating of 8.4 out of 10, putting it 73rd on the IMDb Top 250 list.
Yeah.
And that is 1 place below Coco and 1 above Avengers Endgame.
What a trio that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Saturday night in, isn't it?
Actually, another Marvel tidbit with Amadeus. Have you seen the first Iron Man film?
Yeah.
So Jeff Bridges plays Obadiah Stane, who's like a poor man's Tony Stark. There's a scene where he plays the piano and he's playing a piece by Antonio Salieri.
Right, nice.
Which is a nice reference, yeah.
Yeah, great.
So Amadeus was released to critical acclaim and box office success. 8 Oscars, including the big ones, tripling its budget and introducing Mozart to the MTV generation.
Yeah.
Not bad for a 3-hour period costume drama about classical music, is it?
Not bad at all.
Certainly not.
Sequels and influence.
There are no sequels to Amadeus. Milos Forman never tried to follow this one up.
No.
I think this might be, thankfully, a film where you literally couldn't make a sequel even if you wanted to.
No.
No.
Unless you do get Beethoven in there.
Maybe.
Beethoven, as Bill and Ted call him.
Beethoven, yeah.
But what about Amadeus' impact? What kind of influence and legacy has it had since 1984, do we think?
I think its influence is that it showed that period films don't have to be, painfully slow and very restrained in emotion and performance. You can view people in the 18th century the same way you view people today. And I think something like when Armando Iannucci adapted David Copperfield, that owes a lot to this.
Yeah.
Because it's very loose and it's funny and it's warm. I think its legacy is that it's a masterclass in how to take something on stage and make it cinematic, to the point where you almost think, well, how would this work on stage? Because it works so well as a film.
Yeah, exactly.
Individual bits, I think, remember the scene in Philadelphia where Tom Hanks' character was talking about the classical music?
Yeah.
That's totally taken from this, I think, how they describe the classical music here. And the last thing I'd say is that Mozart and Salieri themselves have become shorthand for that kind of jealous relationship where one person is overshadowed by another.
That has, yeah.
Countless times I've seen character relationship described as, they've got a whole Mozart and Salieri thing going on.
Yeah.
And that's from this.
It absolutely is, yeah. I mean, poor Salieri, massively successful man in his time, and now second best for eternity.
Yeah.
But yeah, the influence of Amadeus, it was pretty immediate. I think massive success. It was an overnight classic, basically. And like we said, 6.5 million soundtrack albums sold, and Falco, obviously. I think this made classical music more accessible. Before Amadeus, Mozart was this dusty portrait on a box of chocolates. Since Amadeus, he's been a kind of rock star genius from 200 odd years ago.
Yeah.
I think it proved to studios that period costume dramas can be both artistically credible and commercially successful without being pretentious. Mm-hmm. Whenever we see a film like Immortal Beloved or Maestro, it's going for Amadeus then, are we?
Oh, Maestro, definitely, yeah.
So I think the DNA of Amadeus has been all over cinema since 1984. Every time a period film decides to be irreverent or when a historical icon gets the rock star treatment, that's Amadeus, I think.
Yeah, I think it's for me, when it's spiraled out and it's not necessarily about musicians or from an art point of view. I think if you look at The Favourite by Yorgos Lanthimos from 2018.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's really trying to have that kind of spin on it where it's accessible but funny, and it's not necessarily supposed to be funny, but it's playful. I think Marie Antoinette by Sofia Coppola in 2006 was very much the same. Just that light tone. I get a lot of that from it.
Yeah, yeah.
And when it is talking about composers, I think they can go for the heavy element, but at the same time, they make it lighter and accessible, but they make the music really speak, which they do in Tar, I think, from 2022, directed by Todd Field.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
I think the music kind of really has something to resonate in that. So there's a lot of filmmaking elements, and I think there's a lot of biographies that came after this. I mean, there's Walk the Line, Ray, Elvis, Save Mr. Blank. It's kind of Countess, really. They've just kind of made them, they make money. I think that's what Amadeus said. Make something, make it well, make it interesting. It doesn't really matter who it's about, it's going to make money.
So no sequels to Amadeus, but in terms of influence, from making classical music almost cool to showing how to make period dramas that feel new, the film's impact has been felt decades later.
Definitely, yeah.
Uh-huh.
All the right movies ranking.
And we've arrived at the final movement. Now it's time for our summaries where we each rate the film out of 10. Mm-hmm. So, Westy, would you care to lead us in? Your summary and score for Amadeus, please.
Not a problemo. This one, like I say, I came very, very late to, in a matter of a month.
Yeah.
So it really had an impact, and it really did work. First viewing, I couldn't get past the laugh. Second viewing, I realised how important it was. Third viewing, you don't really notice it. And the more you watch this film, the more you learn from each character and seeing it from a different perspective. It's fresh every time you watch it again. I think there's so much that we've already spoken about that helps the film shine. From every aspect of the filmmaking to every single performance in the cast, nobody lets this film down. But at the same time, it's nowhere near pretentious enough to be this good. It is a really, really great film, and it's one you can kind of sit with anybody, I think, and anybody would get something out of it. You don't just have to be a fan of classical music. It'll make you a fan of classical music. You don't have to be a fan of period pieces. It'll make you a fan of period pieces. It's one of them films that will change your mind, and they're quite, few and far between, but when you come across them, it puts you in a mindset, and it makes you feel a certain way, and you leave feeling a certain way. And I don't think I can give it any more high praise than that. But what I will say, because I came late straight away. I can't give a full marks because there's always something else I'll get from it. There's always something else I'll learn. And when I've seen it as many times as John has, I'd probably give it a 10.
I can't imagine that ever happening.
Exactly. I'd have to watch it twice a day for the rest of my life, and you'd have to stop watching it for it to balance out. And that's never going to happen, so I know that much. But it is very strong. It's a very good film. I would recommend it to anyone, but it's a solid 9 from me.
Lovely. So we've covered the music, the visuals, everything kind of in between. And for me, to the surprise of nobody, I'd guess, this is one of the great filmmaking achievements in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. We've seen these films before many times as fairly dull period biopics, and this couldn't be further from it. I find it innovative. I think it's vibrant and alive, like a human exploration of genius. I find it breathtaking, to be honest. The lead performances are crazy good. F. Murray Abraham, one of cinema's great tragic figures in Salieri, and Tom Hulce's Mozart, giggling man-child / genius rock star, maybe shouldn't work but does. Mm-hmm. Peter Shaffer's writing uses structure and relationships to explore very human themes, in this case jealousy and genius, to a level I've rarely seen anywhere else. And technically, it's like a masterclass across the board.
Yeah.
Cinematography, costume design, production design, filming in actual locations where Mozart performed 200 years earlier still boggles my mind.
Yeah.
And the music, I mean, it's Mozart, so enough said. But the way they integrate that into the narrative, I'm still going on about it. I'm going to be on my deathbed dictating about how Amadeus weaves music into the story. I found it spellbinding since I first saw it, still do, always will. It's a theatre roof-raising 10 out of 10 for me.
Easy.
And Matt, your summary and score for Amadeus?
I mean, taking a stage play about two 18th century composers, one of whom hates the other because of jealousy and tries to bring about his downfall. But all through the music, it doesn't sound like cinematic dynamite. But this, in its own kind of slightly understated way, it really does explode off screen.
Yeah.
The emotional conflict, the passion for the music are both so visceral. Within 10 minutes, you're not thinking about the time or the topic. You're just involved in this story. You want to see where this rivalry is going to go. And that's because everyone is pulling together. Forman and Schaffer, Hulce and Abraham. Two incredible performances from them, and it gives the film this incredible richness. Mm-hmm. It's surprisingly funny.
Yeah.
The devotion to the time period is done with just the right amount of reference, but not too much.
Yeah.
Are there any flaws? Maybe the scenes of domestic strife with Stanzi later on are a little bit kind of rote. I've seen this before. And ultimately, where this one falls is just what we've all said about various films. It's excellent, but it's just not quite a personal favourite. So it's close, but it's a 9 from me.
Well, we've had the patron saint of mediocrities. Now it's time for the opposite, the ATRM patrons. Should we see what they think of Amadeus?
Yeah, absolutely. It's be interesting.
So Benito said, I remember seeing this in high school and loving it. Bought the soundtrack and listened to it non-stop. Rewatched it a few months ago and I had forgotten how great F. Murray Abraham's performance really was.
Yeah.
Someone coming to this for the first time, or after a long time, must watch Abraham and Hulce and be like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
Who are these guys?
Can't wait to see the films that were in after this. Right, okay. Yes, you can.
Kirsten Wolf said, epic storytelling and masterful use of music, as well as the wonderful location filming. It's 10 out of 10 for me. First saw it as a teenager and was devastated at the ending, despite knowing it was coming. Mm-hmm. Stuck with me for life.
Nice.
Kirsten's reading my mind there, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Scott B said, a period piece that is definitely not a period piece. From the viewpoint of Salieri as genius, plus the music of Mozart, the plot, the characters, the dialogue. Everything is wonderful about this movie. Can watch it over and over, and not just because I majored in classical music at university.
Right.
So Scott knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
I wonder if he's infuriated by Mozart's genius as well.
Yeah.
So, overwhelmingly positive from our patrons, and altogether, they rated the film as, what do you think?
Ooh, tough one. It's overwhelmingly positive, isn't it? Let's say 9.5.
Yeah, I'll go 9.5, yeah.
It was 9.5 out of 10.
All right.
Ooh, there we go.
So in total, that gives Amadeus 37.5 out of 40. Pretty divine numbers there.
Yeah, pretty big.
Mm-hmm. And that's us done on Amadeus. Hopefully you don't think it was too many notes.
No.
Too many words, sure.
Yeah, of course, but you know, still wasn't enough.
Next time out, Luke, Westy and Matt are taking a very different journey as they travel with Tom Hanks, Paul Newman and Sam Mendes down the road to perdition.
Mm-hmm.
18th century Vienna to Depression-era Chicago. Quite the change of pace, but should be good.
Yep, as always.
Wonderful film, yep.
Well, in the meantime, to find out more about becoming a patron, supporting what we do, and accessing our archive and bonus episodes, please visit patreon.com/alltherightmovies, or you can subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts too. Also, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or any podcast platform, as that really, really helps us out.
It really, really does, guys. Yeah, thank you so much.
Socially, you can keep up with All the Right Movies on X, where we are at ATRightMovies. We post threads on there that tell the stories behind classic films, and everything we post has been said by somebody involved in the production or comes from 3 separate sources, which is the same as on our podcast, so you should check that out.
Definitely.
You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, and we have a movie group on Facebook where you can share your own tales of genius or mediocrity, if you'd like.
Up to you.
Yeah.
And our website, full of great features, is alltherightmovies.com, and that's also where you can sign up for our newsletter as well.
Definitely.
Yes, please do.
So we're all off now to eat some nipples of Venus while pondering our own mediocrity. Come back for Road to Perdition, which definitely won't be mediocre.
Nope.
And for now, grazie signori. Thanks for listening.
Yes, thanks, guys. I'm not going to try that.
Come on, guys.